G'day podcasters, welcome back to Season 4 of True Blue Conversations with your host, Adam Bloom. We'd like to thank Tactical Recovery for sponsoring this show. Head on over to tacticalrecovery.com.au and use the code TRUEBLUE for one hell of a discount. Tactical Recovery, magnesium-based muscle care, salty products for sore fuckers. Raise your glasses, podcasters. This episode of True Blue Conversations is brought to you by Wet Canteen Bottling Company, the perfect way to commemorate and celebrate life's most special occasions. Elevate your moments, savour the taste, and make them truly unforgettable with Wet Canteen. Head on over to wetcanteenbottlingco.com.au and use the code TRUEBLUE for your exclusive discount. Now, on with the show. Welcome, loyal listeners of True Blue Conversations. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Australian Warfighter Coffee. Veteran owned and run, driven by a simple yet powerful motto: people over profit. Every dollar goes towards supporting veterans and first responder charity groups. Head on over to AustralianWarfighters.com and use the code TRUEBLUE for your exclusive discount. Because let's face it, any other coffee is just brown sadness water. Now, let's get on with the show.
G'day! Welcome to True Blue Conversations. I'm Adam Bloom. Today's special guest is former 2 Commando veteran Damien Thomlinson. And Damien has got an inspirational story that is just amazing. He was serving in Afghanistan, and in 2009, he drove over an IED and lost both his legs. And he has just been an absolute inspiration going forward in his life, and he's joined us today. Hi, Damien. Thanks for joining us on the show, mate.
Thanks for having me, Adam. It's good to chat to you, mate.
Mate, it's an absolute honour and a privilege to have you on. And so, Damien, we'll get to that story a little bit later, but can you give us a little bit of background about you? Where did you grow up, and what was life like as a young fella before you joined the Army?
Oh, mate, I'm at the Central Coast. So the old halfway between Sydney and Newcastle, for those in different places in Australia, there's a nice little town nestled in there called Terrigal. And it was pretty wild. I talked to my old man about it, and all his friends wanted to live further in, closer to like Gosford, where the train station was. They thought he was mad for buying a place that's right next to the beach. And not like right next to the beach, but close enough to the beach. So like, why would you possibly buy there? And time told that he made a bit of a better decision, which he's had a habit of doing. He's pretty good. But yeah, I played cricket, a lot of cricket and sports growing up. They were team sport style people, which was weird because both of them are mad golfers. Absolutely mad golfers, and cricket and baseball were the two things I mainly did when I was young. And then yeah, there was a little bit of a rut that I found on the Central Coast. It's a very small town of everyone knows everyone type thing. You know, it's it can be a little cliquey. And, you know, I was one of those players. It was one of those sort of things where I got to about the age of 22 or 23 or something like that. And I hadn't made good decisions when it came to putting the things first that I really needed to at that stage of my life. I was much more interested. Like, I always use this joke when I'm doing the corporate talks. I'll sort of start it with this and then just go, the only subject I was interested in at high school was biology, and more specifically the female form. And it's like, it's a good way to sort of gauge which way the crowd are going to go. When you do that, it's a good question to test, like dip your toe in the water. And but like that was sort of it. I think I was a bit more I wanted to be accepted, I guess, in a different way, more like a lot of us when we're young. You know what I mean? You want to be accepted when you realize the easiest way to be accepted is just to be you.
Yeah. And
when you're just you not only get accepted, you get accepted by the right people. That took a bomb to realize, which was probably earlier than the bomb, but just that when I was in the Army, I guess. But yeah, I made the choice when I kept seeing dead ends. I kept seeing stuff that I had a good sense of self-worth. I played representative level of each sport I'd done. I knew I had natural ability at things. I knew I was smart enough to do whatever I should be doing.
Just didn't
But
apply? Like, was that through school? Just didn't apply yourself, or
I
what do you
mean, I
put it down
did.
to?
I did when I was through school. Through the sort of year 10 years, I really got sat down and spoken to by my old man. And like I was doing really, really well in year 10. And then uh I worked out that if you talk to girls, you have a much better chance of becoming closer friends with girls. And then yeah, the formula started to appear, which then became a little bit more interesting. I guess the little dramas of what goes on in high school became something that I got a bit wrapped up in. And then
Bit, little bit distracted, mate.
yeah, yeah, like badly. And then it sort of laid into this sort of, yeah, I guess by the time I was done, it was sort of like this weird thing where I thought my life was over it, in my early 20s. And it just, okay, cool. I'm going to be like packing chicken in a factory or whatever for the rest of my life. Like, and I don't know, it didn't fit. There was a lot of things that had led, in the direction that I was going to do something different. And I saw a picture of my granddad. I had a big chip off my shoulder, and I saw a thing in the army that said there was direct entry into the special forces. And I I honestly thought like I'll be able to do that. Like it doesn't like no matter what they do, I'm gonna be fine. You know what I mean? I had that. It's just that it's the basis for my approach to just about everything. Say you're gonna be fine, do it like that, and then by the time you're in the middle of it, you'll work it out. You know what I mean? Like if you, I think the thing is, you don't really worry about what's it gonna be like if it doesn't work out, because then already you're starting to put yourself in the space where you're gonna make bad decisions. So yeah, that was the catalyst sort of for change for me.
So I read in your book that you apply for special forces after you mentioned your grandfather saying how proud he was to serve and
The best picture, right next to Mum's
yeah,
computer as well. It was one of
yeah,
those
yeah,
one of those moments, right?
yeah. And then you decide that's it. I'm going special forces. I'm going to join up. And I read in your book that you went in, saw the recruiters, and they actually it didn't go as planned, did it, mate? Can you share with us what happened and how gutted you were?
It was like this one was hard. I because I'd put time and effort into this one, and I think a lot of the other times I'd sort of wanted the easy way out or the quick way out, or I'd been very short-sighted when it came to ideas and things I was going to do, and I'd stuck with this for probably it was still only like 3 or 4 months, like it wasn't ages, and I was still pretty fit, still playing like first grade cricket, stuff was going right, and I remember going up, doing all the score, the gas test, like general aptitude score, the physicals and stuff like that, and I went and sat in this office with this guy, and I remember like I think I was sitting at what I thought was attention, which I don't think anyone has ever sat at in the history of the army. I don't even know what it was. I got no idea. I had my hair cut in a flat top, which is not helping anyone either. And then this dude just essentially just goes, "Look, mate, no, sorry, you're just too immature. We can't take it." And I got up. I turned around. I was like, okay, fair enough. Well, how long until I can reapply? And he's like, 12 months. They'll tell you at the desk outside. And I was like, I got up and I was fucking fuming. Like as I walked out the door, it was a glass door that sort of slides, and before it had even hit its full like point of how open it was, I had turned around and walked back into the office to argue with this guy about whether I was too immature or not. Literally just validating everything he said. And then like I remember like well, I got back in the car and I was on the way home, and a little bit of me, I think, was sort of trying to comfort me and going, I mean, your family's got no reason to think that you're going to make this anyway. It's just going to be another thing that, you've put your thing in it. And I walked through the door, and my sister, my brother-in-law, my mum and dad were there. They had a bottle of champagne and 5 glasses expecting me to say, I got in. And I don't think I've ever been as disappointed in myself And like that was the real thing that got me was just the fact that I had the realization of just going like they actually didn't respond the way that I thought it was. The anxiety about how other people were going to think had nothing to do with what other people thought. That was my opinion of myself.
Mm.
So I had to switch that somehow. And that was the next 12 months. I just went to hell for leather. Like absolutely everything. I had a really supportive group of mates who were cool. And they were all really supportive of it. Like they thought it was sweet. Like not for them, but they thought it was great. So that was the thing. Like by the time I got to Kapuka, all these things that people talk about as horrible experiences, or really hard things or something that frustrated them, I just thought, yeah, this is part of Kapuka. Come on, like I was so pumped up. I thought it was great.
So did you at that, like when you went back to that moment of, at where you just had the shock that your dream didn't come true, how did you have the mental resolve to just keep going, mate? Like what do you put it down to? Was it just you were so determined to make that dream come true, or what do you put it down to?
I don't know. I've got this saying of, you keep asking until you get the answer you want. And then when you get the answer you want, stop asking. You know what I mean? Never ask anyone if they're sure when they've just told you what you want to hear. And so I actually rang back. It was like 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks later, and I rang back and I was like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? I'm pretty sure I'm ready now." Oh, so when were you up here? And I'm like, 2 weeks ago. They go, oh, how long did they say? And I'm like, oh, he said 12 months, but I think there's a lot that's changed and what have you. And I said, so how long have I got? And they're like 11 and a half months, mate. And I'm like, okay, cool. I sort of got the message at that stage that they were deadly serious and that's how they were going to run. And the good thing is the training that I did on myself and preparing for how hard it was going to be really set me up to do well. Like I was a harder guy in general, because although my impression of the type of hard that it took to be a special forces soldier isn't even close to the reality of what it was. It's about controlled aggression. It's about being able to keep a cool head in tough situations, not be the guy who's going to throw the most punches in the room, be the guy who's going to assess whether he needs to punch and then what other options there are. You know what I mean? And that was one of the things. But I was, because of that stuff, physical hard, I was ready for it. I kind of knew that then it was the mental side. And the mental side, if I applied myself, I'd always been able to do. So
because you were what, 23 at that stage when you first went? Yeah.
24 when I walked through the doors. Yeah.
Yeah. So, mate, I even think back, like I'm only 30 now, mate, and I think back to, being, 6 years ago, mate, and just, yeah, saw life very different back 4 years. Oh, sorry, 6 years ago to now. And I mean, you're a little bit older than me, mate, and you probably think back to that and go, yeah, they were probably right, actually. They were
Yeah,
probably,
no, 100% right. Yeah, so was everyone else. Like I had a guy, we had this one. I tell another story about a friend of ours. He's a really nice guy. He was like a family doctor, and I really liked his stoic way of dealing with things. And just in general, he always seemed very organized. And I remember I was explaining the attributes that I'd read off the website, and I honestly was cherry picking where I could see them in me.
yeah.
And I remember him just like laughing at me, just throwing it away, just going, yeah, I bet you're exactly what they're looking for, mate. And I was so insulted by that. Looking back, was well justified to say that. Like he's 100% right.
Yep.
But all I could think was like, fuck you. Let's fucking see, champ. Like, and then it was one of those that it's funny, little moments like that and some other things, when things get really, really hard and they're hurting you and physically stuff's going wrong and you've got to have one of those moments where you got to hold it together. My thought was, I've met so many people who doubted me and thought that he's right. This is my chance to show him.
It spurs you on, doesn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. You and I were speaking off air, and yeah, I know exactly. I had a similar moment in my first triathlon where I had nothing left in the tank, and I looked to my nan who saved my life when I told you about my suicide attempt, and I looked to her and I said, Nan, I need something. Give me something now. And she put all the bullies who bullied me in my life. And I let out a big fuck you to just get that last 400 meters. And I'm just
God.
like, yeah. And I was just sitting there going, yes, this is what I needed and I know
Yeah.
what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying, mate. It's like, yeah, I'm going to prove all of you wrong. Whoever doubted me, I'm going to prove you wrong.
And then the weird thing that you learn about yourself through that is when you hit, I found that when I was doing that, when I would hit the next stage, I would realize how much I've actually got left. So when my brain's saying, stop, you're done, you're so far away from it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You're at that day's level of done. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Which
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
set that line with work. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And that was one of the things, it's like it's funny when you look at, and this was one of the big misconceptions when I actually passed selection and got to the unit. It's a proud moment, except to me, that was it. It was like, oh, cool, you're a commando now. That's what you've got to do. No, it's one of those, it's a career where you always have to be progressing and getting better.
Yep.
I mean, I remember hearing, I love my golf and like hearing PGA Tour pros, like a great interview with Max Homer saying when he was like, first you do high school, then you get to college, and then when you're doing your college game, you're moving to the thing, and it just is this. You're now competing against guys, except you always have to be getting better.
Yeah. Right.
There's
Yeah.
no moment where you're not trying to improve on where you are, and you're that far ahead of the rest of the field, but you still got to be doing stuff to be getting better at it. Like it's like that success mentality that God, they had it in the Last Dance. They were talking about that, the Michael Jordan series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Success. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good. It lasts for 10 minutes.
Yep.
Like you might learn the lesson can last forever, but the success lasts for 10 minutes and then the next bit starts.
I think, mate, it's a good point you touch on is that it's, like people want to see the success, but we're so focused on the destination, not the journey. And it's the journey of getting there, like in the journey, the process and everything you have to go through to get that. And it's like as you said with you, I'm a commando now, I've got my beret, but and I've spoken to a few of your other mates on the podcast, and one of them actually said to me, I'll give a shout out, Nick Hill said, it's actually harder to keep your beret than it is to earn it. And
Yeah.
and I just sat there and went, yeah, right. And what you're saying,
That's
yeah,
the truth. You got to consistently be employable. Like, and it's just this, like, and it's as wild as it sounds, that's exactly what it is. But you're up against a bunch of like king alphas that are all doing the same.
yep,
You know what I mean? That are all working hard. Like, that's one of the most inspiring. If you're a competitive person, you're in the right place on earth right there, because there's just everyone's lifting that level. You know what I mean? They're all going harder. It's like, yeah.
striving for excellence,
Oh
like
my God.
striving,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But like,
yeah,
even down to like, if you were shooting chili oil, someone would want to have a bigger shot of the same chili oil just to show they could, and then it starts to be one of those type of,
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, it's,
yeah, yeah. Mate, typical alpha males, mate.
yeah. I mean, it's
Always,
great, but it's one of the rare places in the world, but where everyone is marching in the same direction. At the end of the day, no matter who you are, whether you're, you know, everyone's a different shape, size, personality, tolerance level, the works. Everyone's different. That's what
yeah,
makes us people. But because everyone's going in the same direction,
yeah,
it's one of those that, I mean, everyone hears the saying, your candle doesn't burn brighter by blowing the candle next to yours out. In a place where everyone's marching the same direction, that's 100% true, because the goal of those people is to light a room up. So if you're the guy blowing a dude's candle out, you're the odd one out.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? And
yeah,
then all of a sudden your mindset of encouraging people, or giving the right type of feedback. If someone's being a bag of shit, they need to know it so they can sort it out.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And there's no way of sugarcoating it and going, I hope this email finds you well.
Accountability, mate.
Yeah,
Accountability.
I certainly think that if you put just a tad more effort into it, there's no niceties. It's just like,
No.
dude, sort it out.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
There's no. Well, and I think Mate, it has to be that way because it's life and death. Like you're not, you're not in a normal 9 to 5 job, that doesn't have any risks. Like you're doing stuff that is life and death, like situational stuff that, and like
And it comes down to trust.
that's right.
How
Yeah,
can you trust someone who's not going to work hard for you?
that's exactly
You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah,
If someone's going to give up, and like that's like the basis of sort of the selection courses are each day they're looking for a different attribute when people are under extreme levels of duress.
yeah.
Are you going to point the finger, or are you going to not worry about whose fault it is and worry about keep going? Let's just get it done. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's get it done.
And
Again, like there's no reason or excuse not to learn if something goes wrong, but to let that something that goes wrong turn into a compound error that then ends up being a disaster, you're
yeah.
in the wrong room. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, we'll get to selection in a minute. And you go to basic and you love basic. Was it because you'd gone direct? Was that a speed like a shorter process, or was it still the standard like normal? Still,
Standard getting everything different with Kapuka. But we did have a group of people whose goal was we were all paneled for the Special Forces Direct Entry. So, but we were the last of the 49-day course.
yep.
I think then there was like I think it got stretched out to 90 or something like that. So we were literally the last cycle that went through that. And like Kapuka, as repetitive as it is, there always seemed to be there was a purpose. You were walking with purpose. There was a group of you that were walking in step. There was always these little things that you could prove yourself with, and like times you had to stand up for what you were doing, and lessons through things. I guess for me, the end game was always I have to pass Kapuka to get to the next step. This is the first phase of me getting where I need to go.
Yep.
And I remember having I was looking at I was trying to they had the principles of firing, the weapon must be held in a
Yep.
disposition, blah blah blah. And so I'm looking at these in the door, and this corporal walked past and yelled at me about what I was doing. So I said, Corporal, I'm looking at this and blah 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 and studying that, Corporal. She yelled, No, you're not, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. So and everyone's yelling. You had to yell at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Corporal, yes, I am. Blah, blah. And they admin line. They yelled, and then everyone has to yell, admin line. So I march my way down with this breath pocket height mask, stand and do my little check thing on the admin line. She starts yelling at me, right, about what I was doing, and I was having fucking none of it, right? So I can't look at her. You can't look at her, but you can glare.
Yeah.
I have a real aggressive resting bitch face. Just I can't do anything about it. It's just there. I either look like I'm ecstatic or I'm about to murder something. And I had this look, and I remember her doing it, and I just wasn't going to buckle. In my mind, even though, like looking back, it was literally just some people at work just going, "We think that he's doing that. We're not 100% sure. Who really cares? Doesn't make any difference. Let's yell." To me, I was like, this is literally one of the Army's tests for my integrity to blah, blah, blah. So I ended up with this sergeant, and he was at point blank screaming at me about what I should do with his corporals, blah, blah, blah. And then he tried to buckle me. And I was literally in my head, I was like, if we fight, I'm just going to go until I get knocked out. I was just like ready for it, but just still holding the thing, and I held my line the whole time. After that, me and that sergeant were cool.
Yeah, right.
Just because I held my ground on that thing. No, Corporal, I wasn't. I was reading the instructions as I've said, Corporal, Sergeant, as I've said, Sergeant, blah, blah, blah. And then he had this thing, like he did get me back, but the fucker. His name was Sergeant Roach. And me and James Callahan, 50 cal. His dad was an SAS veteran. His brother was a clearance diver. And we were like, I get this from my mum. She can be very rules orientated. Like, these are the rules. That's the way it is. And me and 50 had one of those type of rivalries, right? And I got hassled because I got asked if anyone wanted to correct him when we're doing one of the lessons that you do. I fucking proved because, obviously fucked it up. And he just goes, you, and I did it and I said it the exact way I thought you were supposed to say it. And he's like, going, look at him. He's absolutely the Iceman, isn't he? And like, I didn't realize because I'd never seen Top Gun at that time how big of an insult Iceman is. So, and it stuck through our group at Kapuka. And it wasn't until like it got shortened occasionally and stuff like that, but like just to ice or whatever. But everyone took it as like the joke that Sergeant Roach had said. And it wasn't until we got to like Singleton, we were 3 weeks through our like initial employment training. And they're like, oh, Top Gun's on up in the rec room. And I'm like, oh, sweet, let's go up there. I'll have a look. I sit down there and I look at Val Kilmer's character and I'm like, I looked at my guys who I was really good friends with. I'm like, this dude is a fuckwit. Why? You serious? And like everyone was just in hysterics over not knowing it. And like, no shit. For the first couple of weeks, I thought it was cool. I was just like, yeah, this is cool. And then it was like, it became like a satire around it.
Yeah.
Like it became this sort of joke until, and it is the worst. We'd passed like IETs and passed selection. We're on like the advanced course, and Pete Rudlin was he was our platoon sergeant at the time.
Yeah.
And they gave out like a form that you had to fill out, and you're not used to filling out. You filled out a million forms, and they're all pointless. And I had like Steery. He's a good mate of mine. He runs veteran grappling, does great work with veterans. And I was sitting down, we're filling it out, and he's like, it's just got like name and nickname and shit like that on it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And he goes, dude, you should write Iceman. And I'm like, why? And he goes, well, Mark's written Axe, like he's written Evo, like Spanglish has written that. Like, come on, everyone's written their thing. You got to write it. So I wrote it. And I remember I was standing in a group out the front of the staff room, and oh God, I don't know whether it was Pete walked out. I think it was one of the other instructors that I think is still in, so I can't say his name. But he just literally walked out and goes, who the fuck is Iceman? And everyone, like literally everyone, they didn't want to like give me up, but they kind of subtly like turned and sort of looked. The first time I walked into the mess at Holsworthy, I had someone yelling at me. Like I just had heard like, and it's a pretty intimidating place because they're all qualified dudes. We were still trainees and like jubes, like young dudes.
Yep.
And I hear this, oh, the Iceman, as I walked in. Like it was, man, like I'm 25 years old, absolutely in the lion's den, and that got yelled at me like it.
trying to be the grey man going through selection, mate. Yeah, you put a target. Well. Yeah, put a target right on your head, like
massive one. But I mean, that was sort of part of it, I kind of thought at that stage. I thought when we were doing selection, because we did have a couple that was pre-selection, and everyone knew about it. Everyone at the unit, and the story. The funny thing, it taught me a good thing about the way that the unit operates. It operates kind of like a high school yard. The rumor is stronger than the truth. So, like, obviously it was Sergeant Roach that started the thing. And then by the time I got to the unit, it was me that had somehow coined the nickname Iceman for myself. And like I remember almost getting into a scrap with a guy that I didn't realize it was half a Bravo company was there, and I was like ready to go. I was so ready to go, like old school drunk, ready to go. Just because this guy kept going, giving yourself nicknames and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, let's do it. One of my friends come and grabbed me, like sort of over the shoulders and held me and started just saying to him, "Oi, man, it was a thing from us when we were young and blah, blah, blah." And I had a guy pull me aside and just go, "Man, you've just got to accept the fact that for the next couple of years, you're the Iceman." And I'm like, no. But man, it was a joke that we had. It wasn't a thing. I didn't know the form. And he goes, dude, You just got to accept it. I wore a leather jacket and a singlet to a function that we had, and I got called the Fat Commando for 2 years. I'm like, so he's told me that. It was the best piece of advice I've ever not listened to. I was still so like hell bent on not being the Iceman, but yeah, so that was
Mate, good times to start, and then so you get to the unit, you go through selection, and selection didn't go as smoothly as planned for you, mate. And you nearly didn't pass selection. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened here in Melbourne?
Oh yeah, no, I passed selection at that stage.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so I passed selection. We had like a guy who was like he was a sort of one of those like godlike characters named Colonel Hans Fleer. And we're sitting in a room at the end of selection, and this guy he's walked in and he did really cool stuff. Like we'd done the first like 20 clicker march that we had, and like everyone went pretty hard at it. This is like 2 days in. We'd done all of this fitness stuff. They kept us awake a fair bit. He woke us up at we probably got a couple of hours sleep, but he woke us up and he told us a story about the fact he lives on a farm and he takes his fucking cows for a walk or whatever. So now that you're all here, I'm a bit disappointed that I can't walk my cows. So you're going to be my cows. Packs on. We put our packs on and just start walking after this dude is just clean skin walking along. And like he's getting to a bit of a shuffle pace. It was punishing. But like he walks in at the end of selection and they've called a bunch of numbers. Like my number was no, I was number 70. And you're sitting in there and you're kind of gauging it by people getting up and walking out, just going, he was good. He was tough. That guy was a bit ordinary. I don't know about that. I did some stuff with him. I'm not sure. And you're trying to gauge. So then there's a group of us sitting in the room, and there's people who, like, you've trained really hard with who've left the room. There's some of them that you're in there and you're like, I wonder. No, but didn't he go to sleep when that thing was happening? You know what I mean? Like, there's always something that is happening. And then he gave this speech that, like, was they go, in the Special Forces of Australia, we expect a particular type of person. And I'd like to say congratulations to everyone that's sitting in this room. You were the type of people who we were after. And I was like, part of me breathed out, but the rest of me then thought about the numbers that have been called outside, because there were guys who, you can't really gauge whether they're better than you at that stage, that you just thought, wow. And then yeah, we get further down the track, get into the story that you definitely want. We'd done the reinforcement cycle, right? And our reinforcement cycle, we just got belted through. Like we didn't have weekends off. We did have some weekends off, but we just wouldn't get time. And we're down in Melbourne on our last course before an insertion course, which was our urban assault course. And we'd really been belted, like we had weeks and weeks and weeks. It was hard. I mean, it was fun. It's a lot of fun. The urban stuff is always really, really fun strategically and just in theory and practice. But they gave us this speech, right, that said, all right, so you can go out tonight, but no one be late. You know what I mean? Like, no one be late. The bus leaves at 9:15 tomorrow morning. Like, essentially, don't get arrested and don't fuck up. Simple as that. We go out. I've worked on some of my old skills when it came to talking to girls. I woke up at one's house and I'd set an alarm, except you're that exhausted and that I'd somehow slept through it, but I heard my phone ring. And I picked it up and it was one of the boys, and he just goes, bro, where are you? And I'm like, oh, fuck, man. I don't know. I have no idea. And then he's like, dude, we've got like 10 minutes until we leave. Like, where are you, man? And I'm like, oh, fuck. just do anything you can, man. Do anything you can. He goes, dude, you have fucked up. And I'm like, shit, man. I'll work on it. So I hung the phone up. I wake the girl up, and I'm like, hey, look, I need to get here. I can only navigate there from the direction that we've driven. I don't know Melbourne. I need to get us to this part of the city so that we can go over the west gate out to these barracks. And she's like, no, I can call you. I can call you a cab. And then I was like, I've got to break the fourth wall. I have to, or I'm not getting there. I'm like, look, I'm on the last course training for the Australian Special Forces doing this and this and this. I told you I was in the army last night. This is the part that I'm doing. I need you to get me there stat. Like, we've got to fucking move. We get there. We're in a car. I just run through the gate and just bolt. And I think I ended up being like 20 minutes, a half hour late or something. And it was the worst. I was hungover as sin, and we're on the bus, and they just everyone was just off me, which is fair enough. But there was another bloke as well who had slept in his room and no one could wake him up, who I have a feeling did something similar, but he just had a better story than me. I just told him the truth. And then, I remember being on the bus on the way back, and you're taking hits trying to sleep. And I remember hearing, Private Tomlinson, if you sleep, no one sleeps. I remember hearing that because everyone just passed out on the bus and stuff like that. And then so I sat there awake the whole time. I remember being on parade when we got back to Holsworthy after the whole trip back. Melbourne to Sydney, one trip. Walked out, guy called Dusty walks out with our course reports and called me and the other guy's name and just ripped him. Threw him in the air like that, walked back into the office. Another guy came out and just said, all right, everyone, dismissed. And that wasn't fun. Wasn't a fun experience. They sent me across the road to 3 RAR for what the weird bit of it was, right, I still had to go through the process the next day. We went up into the mess at 4 RAR, which is what it was before it was 2 Commando Regiment, and they called out the course reports, and I got mine and it said passed. And I walked up to him afterwards and I said, look, you've made a mistake, mate. It says I passed the course. He goes, you did. You passed the course. You were great on the course. It's not where it's going to finish, but you were great on the course, whatever. Take it and go. So, okay, so I picked it up and kind of walked off with a little faint bit of hope that it wasn't going to be that bad. And then that afternoon, we had our stuff moved over and we marched into 3 RAR across the road. And that was different. I mean, that one for me was it was hard. It was a bad mistake. That's one of the mistakes I still regret in my career. I mean, I regret telling Ian Langford what I thought about him on the boat when we're on Canimbla. That's one of the major ones. But the bigger one, I forget, just the discipline of not, how hard is it, dude? All you got to do is wait until you get back to Sydney, then go wild for 2 days or whatever. It was pretty bad. And but it wasn't until, and I actually owe the other guy for this. We were doing an exercise down in Canberra where we were playing enemy. And I was literally just going I don't want to do this. Maybe I want to join the federal police, and maybe there's got to be something else I can do, because this is shit. This is just balls, man. I'm not playing enemy officers that I've literally done nearly the entire reinforcement cycle with the exception of jumping out of a plane or doing the amphib ops. How am I here? And then the guy said to us, he goes, hey man, I rang Schema, who, for listeners who don't know, are the organization that essentially the career management agency. And he rang him and just said, my name's X, blah, 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 doing this. And they said, so you're not parading at Alpha Company in 4 RAR? He goes, no, we're parading in Bravo Company at 3 RAR. And they lost their mind.
Yeah, right.
someone had taken it, one of the captains had taken it upon himself to do a handshake agreement to send us across the road just as his own little bit of, because I guess he couldn't. I think the thing was that they couldn't say that they'd let us out to go wild in Melbourne. So they were trying to do it in the quiet way. The problem was they'd sent us over in the quiet way, and then the people from over there weren't letting us go back.
All right. Yeah.
So it wasn't until Schema then jumped in that we actually got to go back to the unit. It was
Crazy
yeah,
times, mate. Crazy
yeah,
times. So
yeah, it
so
was.
you look through the whole process, like you when you did your selection, what do you think was the hardest part for you, like of the whole selection process and the reinforcement cycle?
The reinforcement was hard because I think it was just hard because of how back to back it was. Like it was just we got drilled through it. Like and when you're under the pump for that long, you're just living in a world of anxiety. You know what I mean? Like, and I personally think if ours was spread out a little more and structured a tad differently, which at the time they were trying to build and bolster the unit, but if I would have retained probably more information if I had the chance. Like our amphib course we did in June, and like we were cold and wet with like 3 or 4 hours sleep a night for the whole time. There's things that like I can't. I know how to be tired. Everyone knows how to be tired. It's probably best if you know how to do something before. You know what I mean? Like I think
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna, there's a difference between training someone and then going, we're gonna do it like it's a selection course. Um, but yeah, I did. I think the hardest thing. I don't. God, I don't even know. I don't think there was. Like the whole thing's hard. I mean, the whole thing's a challenge, but the challenge is worth it because the whole time you know you're on tilt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, but it's achievable is the
Mm.
other thing. You know what I mean? Like you're in a fight, but you're in the I don't know, for some reason I felt while I was doing it, I'm in the right weight class.
And I think for you too, like you were so driven on getting there that it had, like you didn't want to go back to, like there was just you weren't there was just no
No.
fail, there's no other option for you. That was it. You just the pain and everything you had to go through to get your beret and go through that process. Like you didn't want to go back and have that feeling of when you were turned away that 12 months before.
Yeah, but also I was so hell bent on I really wanted to know what it felt like to to be one of those guys. You know what I mean? Like I built this
Yeah, yep.
mystique up for 12 months in my mind about these superhuman guys, which it turns out they're just the guy next door who'll just go a tad harder than most people who you know. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah. Yep.
I had this like real massive opinion of how hard they'd be. So for me to be going through any of the pain, I'm just like, they'll be able to. They have. This is what it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You want to be one of them that bad, Damien? You got to make sure that no everyone knows this doesn't bother you. You don't wince, you don't complain, you don't do shit. You're good. You're good through this. Anyone asks you, yeah, I'm fine. If I wake up on a stretcher and I physically can't do it, I'm happy with that outcome.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that was sort of that was the mindset through the physical stuff. And then yeah, I mean it was just that the discipline on the piss that probably could have been better.
So for like back in so when you first joined the unit, like they like obviously the years later you got did they do like the presenting of your beret like they did later on down the track, or was it how was it different when you went through?
No, they did do a beret presentation, but for me, because me and the one other that went back, we'd completed our course at a different time to everyone else.
Oh right, yeah, yeah,
So
okay.
by the time we were qualified for a beret, the next reinforcement cycle still had like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that to wait for theirs. We were literally just told like cool, you guys are qualified now. The shop's up there. This is how you do it.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And then like a couple of reinforcement cycles after that, they had the full beret parade and all this sort of different thing. And like it was, yeah, it was pretty weird, hey.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking back now, mate, you go, oh yeah, like just part of the process, mate, part of the journey, and wouldn't change it. It makes for a good story, that's for sure.
Yeah, a bit of it, I mean, and I think as well, like you've always got these preconceived ideas of what's this place going to look like, like so much mystique around it, there's so
Mm,
much mystique that, I think a majority of it we can sort of blame Hollywood for.
mm.
Like that, I don't know, it's hard to say that sort of turning it into something that it's not.
I I think too for the public looking in, mate, like it's this like special forces, like there's a curiosity about it, like you want to know what it is, and without breaking, like going and breaking secret, sort of intel and that sort of stuff. But it's that, oh, what do they do? Like
What are
what
you
what
doing back there? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. What is that? Like it's
Yeah.
that's interesting, and I get it. I get what you're like. Oh, I'm in here now. Like, oh,
I'm
this
in here
is
now. Like, okay, cool. This is, and like everything's one of those experiences. I think one thing I can definitely say, and I had this one of the guys who's on my team, he's really good. He reads a lot, but we're trying to describe the air when you're in the unit. His name's Sean Trainer, and he's really, really good guy. He's done loves his fitness style stuff, and yeah, right into it. And well, it was so funny. Like Ray Martin called me a fitness fanatic on a 60 Minutes piece that we did in like 2009, and I still don't think he's over it. He was always more of a fitness guy than me. Like he still does all of it. Like he's literally probably mixing a protein shake now. You can like be 90% certain that he's doing something related to his fitness now. But and that happens regardless of when anyone listens to this podcast. 90% certainty that he's doing something that he's so he still never lets me live it down. But yeah, he said, and he described it in a really good way. At the unit, every single person who's walking or doing anything looks like they're walking with a purpose. Like there's no one that drags their heels. You know what I mean? Like there's none of those, oh, you got to walk like that to be cool. You got to have some swagger. You got to have that. You've got to be going somewhere with fucking meaning or you're wasting people's time.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like you can feel that when you're there. Like you
yeah.
can actually, it feels different to anywhere else I've ever been. I've been at high end. God, I've been in high end sport dressing rooms. I've been just about everywhere, and nothing feels the way that it does at that place.
It's everyone's common goal, common interest, mate. They all, I call it the willingness to serve, mate. They're willing to, that's what they're there to do. They're willing to like serve their country, and that's why you join the
It
military.
is. Like it's always you've got to always get better.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like you're always being watched. You're always being watched and monitored by your peers, which is a really weird one to kind of explain. But yeah,
So on your Rio cycle, was there anything that you had to do again, or was it pretty like you were pretty okay with everything? Like
it's fine with everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
you passed everything, and that
yeah,
was,
yeah. It was
and
pretty good.
so then so you get from 3RAR and come back to, so what company? So you come into Alpha Company when you finally get there?
Yeah, Ian Langford was the commanding officer, and yeah, he was great. He was Langus. He's the professors. There's just every now and then you get one of those. Like it's funny. I've heard like Peter Cosgrove's another one that pops to mind. But if you're putting it in the terms of like say cricketers, I remember I was talking to Mark Taylor about this when we we're out at charity lunch, and he said there's just guys every now and then you hear about someone who just is like they're a different species, you know what I mean? And I said, like, give us an example. He goes, when I was like coming through. There was a 16-year-old kid from Tasmania who was tiny, who no one could get out. Like, he said he was an absolute prodigy. Guy's name's Ricky Ponting.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, and he said there's guys who just make it look like they're making like top class cricketers look like they're playing the wrong grade.
Yeah.
You know, I think Langers was one of those type leaders. He had that ability too. He has all of the unique abilities that come with being a great leader, you know. So it was good to be able to see someone lead the way that he did when I first got there. It was a great introduction to what life was like at the unit.
And then, so you're in the unit now, and did you deploy on to Fiji first before East Timor, or what came? Yeah.
Yeah. Fiji was shit house. That was the worst. For how much I like my military time, every single story I've told so far started with it was shit house. So what happened with our group, right, was because at that stage I think I'd only just been qualified. I'd only just done my amphib course. So I wasn't technically in one of the teams. So they had two platoons and then a holding platoon, which was sort of the mix of snipers and a few other style people that, you know, it wasn't completely full. I don't think the company was even full at that stage. And so we had different people. We had a couple of guys from Delta Company who'd just come back off rotation 3. We got sat down, and the guy who ended up actually being the officer that was in charge of me and like my captain when I deployed to Afghanistan a couple of years later, he walked in and he was the officer. And he goes, "All right, there's a job in Fiji. Is there any reason why anyone in this room can't do this job?" That's my best Welsh accent. And like, obviously no one's going to say no. We didn't even know what it was. We just knew that because I think we got called down off the range that day. And yeah, we just, okay, yes. So he described it. He goes, "Look, we're going up to Townsville. There's a thing. It's happening there. Here's the brief." Went through it. Okay, cool. So our platoon, we're going to be living out of Townsville, ready as a quick reaction force. I hadn't been on a trip before and done anything. So I didn't have a book with me. I didn't have a computer. I had nothing that could possibly like keep me occupied while I was there. I just had a trunk that just had the gear that I was going to need to do my job. I just had no idea that like one of the hard truths around doing that job is you're going to spend a lot of time waiting and doing nothing. And yeah, but then we get to Townsville and I'm like, okay, cool. We had rooms there and everyone's walked in, you're doing that. And then the boss basically I'm like, I sort of thought if I do need anything, I can buy it in Townsville, you know, it'll be all right. And then the boss just goes, "Oh, okay, boys, it's been a change of plan. We're getting on the boat now." What? The boat? Jesus. Yeah, and then it was like, okay, cool. So we load up. I've made the call. The girlfriend I had at the time, I don't think she was too pro-war, but I'd also said, "Look, we'll be able to talk. I'm just in Townsville. I'm not that far away, babe. It'll be good." Like, and yeah, then it was like the next call was, "I'll call you when I can call you." She's freaking out a little bit, and yeah, whatever way it goes. We get on, we do that thing. And I mean, partway through that trip, like I was slowly going insane on that. Like just doing nothing is so hard. You'd know it from ADHD when you've got nothing happening.
Yep.
That's the stuff of nightmares.
You drive up, you go up the wall. You're like, what the?
Yeah. I was miles up the wall. I was so far gone. They were ready to commit me. Like, they had a straight jacket ready for me. And like, it was the worst. And then I remember everyone was on the smoking deck one time. That was like where you went to socialize. Back when smoking was a thing. That's how long ago that was. And like, I remember like talking to a few people and then hearing this bang, bang. And like, just fuck. Okay, rotors look like pieces and shards of metal obviously flying up in the air. And then this is the most Hollywood thing. I have 2 Hollywood moments that have happened in my military career, and this is one of them. This dude called Rufus just goes, "Take cover!" like that. So I was sort of ducked down and Jesus, okay. So I chased him and two other people up this like set of stairs that went under the comms deck. We look over the edge, and every time you do chopper training, they show you how the chopper hits the water. It does this, then it rolls, and this is how you got to get out of it. And you do that down at Nowra, and it's pretty easy. I surfed my whole life. I was fine with it. I looked, by the time we got up there, you couldn't even see bubbles. Like it was gone that quick. And it's not like there was that much time between when we were down. And then we were counting people up. And I remember like him putting his fingers up. I'm putting mine up as well. Just like we got to 5. And like my sort of heart sank. I was just like, I know there was more than 5 guys on that. God, it's just happened. This is the thing you've been thinking about going to happen for your whole career. You're going to be now near an incident where people have died. Okay. And like you're sort of processing that. And it was strange. It was crazy the way that happened. Like I've actually somehow the videos on YouTube, which like part of it bothers me, and I'll get to you why, but like 2 of the guys were so deep under the boat, they came up the other side.
Yeah,
So
right.
people surfaced, but the pilot Mark Bingley he died on deck from his injuries, and so we get the call. Everyone gets locked down, and I'd seen this guy who I knew from somewhere. You know, you get that face,
Yeah,
and he had
yeah.
long hair enough that was long enough for me to go, okay, cool. So he's not one of us. He's one of the SAS boys. So I was like, hey, man, how you doing? Like, we walked past each other and sort of nodded each time. I was like, hey, man, do you used to play baseball or something like that? He goes, no, I used to play first grade cricket for Tukley. I played my first game of first grade against him. And he's just gone, I'm glad you cut your hair. And I'm like, yeah, because I used to have this fucking horrific long blonde ponytail. And I'm just like, yeah, didn't really have too much choice with that one, mate. But, you know, yeah, good to see you and all that sort of stuff. You know, when you get that sneaking suspicion, and
Yep.
then so we didn't get told because of OPSEC, operational security over the phone lines. They were all cut down for 3 days. And then everyone was down in the bottom room thing. And I remember it was the news was the way that we found out. Like, and I said, you know, blah, 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 Trooper Josh Porter. And it was so surreal to look at it and just be like, what are the fucking chances that we're going to be on the same boat, that the chopper that goes in, the guy who I've talked to about, like, playing cricket against him, Jesus, like, it was just really, really strange. Like, and that was sort of the catalyst for me really disliking that trip. That was just, especially since day two when we're out there, we knew we weren't going to do anything.
And that
He was having beers with the Prime Minister, like day 2. You're like,
yeah, just
like my opinion about it, but this is how bad it was. We had Mike Hindmarsh flew back from Timor with us after I'd done my deployment there, and everyone's like doing their little thing of, you know, how's the unit progressing and what's this and blah blah blah, and then he comes and sits down next to me, and I'm just like, so what was the deal with Canimbla? That was literally the question I asked him. Like, why the fuck were we out there? And he's just like, well, you know, I mean, it actually costs a lot more money to get you guys back, and then, you know, political stuff and whatever. And I've gone, it must be easy to make that call from an office. Like, the boat was overloaded and horrific. Like, it was the worst.
And I think for you too, mate, like as you say, knowing Josh as well, like it makes that even harder, like that trip even shitter. And, you know, first time you've been exposed to death, and, you know, like, and yeah, it would have been that. And I know in your book you say yourself, you were questioning, you were like, why am I here? Like,
What am I here? What am I doing?
Yeah, what am I doing? And then you question why you're in the unit, and then you ended up going to did boat, like, you got transferred to the boat squad or the boat patrol. Did that happen before Timor, or was that after Timor?
Yes, that was before. So what happened was we did that, and I think like this is sort of weird. I think for like for the first bit, part of me joining the army was trying to find that normality, you know what I mean? Like a
Yep.
relationship, a place that you're living, a secure income with a job that you're proud of doing. You know what I mean? And that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
what
yeah.
I'd had that. And then we were deploying, and all of a sudden that was putting strain in the relationship. And there was all these different things that I'd finally got into the position I think I was looking for, like 5 years. And then it was going. So I was kind of like melting down a little with that. But then we get back. I'm sitting in the office with like the guy who goes, take cover, and Langers. And they go, look, there's two positions that have come up in boat platoon. And boat platoon, like that was a shameful thing. Like, don't get me wrong, that was, yeah, if you were getting put across to there, you were basically getting means tested. Like it was the graveyard of commandos. And I remember going over there and just like when I was going there, I was like at that stage, it's like I don't care. Whatever, man. Like
Yeah.
if our job is to get sent over to sit on a boat that's overloaded, like, and mind you, it was so bad. You stacked four high. You couldn't sleep. Like I was sleeping like on reverse cycle so that there weren't 120 dudes in a space that houses 80 people.
Oh, yeah, nah.
Like it's mental, man. Like seriously, they've got it better at Silverwater. Like it was horrific, man. And it's a pretty well known fact about how overloaded that boat was. And I was just questioning everything about it. I'm still like, so this is like the elite. This is elite Australian special forces, and we're doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
and everyone knew that, yeah, he'd seized ammo. Frank Bainimarama had, who's apparently just lost an election. But he'd seized ammo, but he was getting along amicably with the PM. So there was literally no reason for us to be there. And you're like, cool, that's really pointless. What are we achieving? But when I got moved to boats, there was a cool group of people that we worked with. Like they were all like a lot of them water transport and other operators that you could tell had obviously pissed someone off as well. And we got to do some of the like that was some of like probably one of the best 7 months I've spent in the army. Like at that stage, it was so good. We had the boats got used to get moored up near. There's a Channel 7 building near Star City Casino.
Yep, yep.
You're literally like driving 9 meter ribs, wearing black in the middle of a harbor through the day, and like they say sorry. It was so weird. They would say sorry to their God. Look, sorry guys, we got to stay over the night on this like mothership thing that we had. Like, you're apologizing to us for what? No, it was just so weird. They were so polite and nice. You were still in the army, so you obviously were having to do everything. But and you're working with. I think the itch came like when you're working with the domestic counter-terror group, because that's where the
Yep,
ribs really fit in.
yep.
Working with the Tag East, and there were guys who I knew and who I was friends with who weren't talking to me because I'm now operating boats. And then one day we were doing a thing on the Georges River. We used to use to go out and come out of Botany. That was like one of the things, and we do different formations and stuff. And it was so much fun. It's just the best. I love the water. And I got a phone call. I'm just saying, do you want to go? Like, and I'd asked as well. Like, I came back. I had just had a period in my life where, I was like, I need to get back to being a shooter. And I remember going into Pete and saying, mate, can I do that? And he goes, to be honest, people don't trust you. It's that simple. And I said, look, I do. I don't know what I have to do, but I'll do it. And he's like, people don't trust you. I'm like, yeah, okay. And I ended up getting a call right when we got onto the boats, and they go, you're going to want this one. And they passed me a mobile, which never happens. And I was like, hey, how you going? And Dicko, the dude who was running boat platoon at the time just goes, "Hey, do you want to go to East Timor?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do." He goes, "Oh, cool, you leave Friday." I'm like, "Sweet, like this Friday?" Because it's Wednesday. And he's like, "Yeah, this Friday, you better get back to the unit, mate." And I was just like, in my mind, I was like, here it is. Like, here's my chance. And then when I got over there, I was really lucky. I had Jordy McCallum in my team, who is just an unbelievable guy. James Reeves works up in Queensland in the police force. Pete Copeland, he was brilliant. I don't know whether one of them. There's two of them that I'm not 100% sure whether they're still in or not. So I don't know whether I can say their name, except they were cool enough to not worry about any reputations or anything like that, and just take me the way that I was when I got there, and I kind of got the fire back that I had when I first joined, and that was, I think, enough to prove to them that, I obviously wanted to be there. I found sort of my niche again with, like, sort of got taken under the wing of a guy who loved training. And yeah, by the time we'd done that trip, which was great, I really enjoyed Timor as a trip. I needed it at the time. It was a really good reset. And then the minute that I got back to the unit, I think we got a little bit of leave. I think it was just I don't know, like, because I think we got back just in time for Christmas, which was great because we ran a lot. I was quite fit by the time I came back. So I came back up the Central Coast, and I was probably as fit as I've ever been, which was great, especially when you're single. So, and I remember going back and getting the call, like, at some stage, but I don't know whether I should. Oh, radio, this one, whatever. I ended up getting into a bit of a scrap. There were a couple of blokes getting beaten up. So I decided, well, we should probably just square these numbers up a bit. And I remember one of the guys going low on me, putting my hands down, and then seeing a fist come over the top, and it busted my eye socket. So like my eye was massive and stuff like that. And then ended up, like, I needed an implant put into it. Like,
Yeah, right.
a fracture. Like, it definitely got me. But like, then I get back to work. I have the week where I go in and they go, "Look, you got to get that X-rayed," and they go, "You've got a busted orbital and you this and that." I was like, cool. And then as after I'd had the operation, they go, "Look, you've been moved across. You're in Bravo Company." I said, "Sweet, no worries. It's awesome." Like, back across one of the units, and I still, one of my eyes couldn't blink properly. Like, it looked like I'd been in a scrap that weekend, and it was 3 weeks old.
Yeah.
I remember walking in, and I'm, sort of walking into the building where Bravo Company was, and I had this guy just sort of like walk up and go, "Hey, how you doing? Who are you?" Like, no one wears name tags. I'm fucking Damien. Who are you? And he's like, "My name's Steve Wakeland. I'm the OC." Just like, fucking hell. Every single time. It's like I can smell him. I was like, Jesus Christ. And he's just going, "So, to get a bit of fun." I'm like, it was funny because after it, I think he saw on my face that it mattered. You know what I mean? And then I was always pretty cool with Waco. Like, he's a good guy. But we had like this sort of like, I was finally back in a group that I knew. This time I knew what it was worth, and I wasn't letting it go. You know what I mean? I knew the priority that it had to take. I knew what it took to do it. I think I'd matured a little over those years. Like, I really understood what it took to be a shooter at the unit, as opposed to the young guy who had just come through. I really understood those things that Nick was talking about.
And I think for you, what I take away, like, as you say, Timor was a saving grace. And that was for you. You were over there. Was that a 6-month deployment for you over there, or was that a shorter deployment?
9 days. We only went 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And was that was looking back for you, like, for what Timor was to get you back to the unit? Like, Is that a definitely one of your prouder? Like, obviously, all like you went to Afghan as well, but that one meant something more to you, that deployment.
I think that really helped me sort out my priorities. You know what I mean? Plus, like through basic training, I'd proved myself. I'd proved how tough I could be, or I'd proved whatever to the guys who I was with there.
Yep.
But I never had the chance, or sort of chose not to have the chance almost, to not do it to people who mattered, which was the rest of the unit. And everyone on that team was really well respected, and that started to build trust amongst other people, and I started then to realize how that social hierarchy, how important the social hierarchy was. And one thing that happened in boats was I've always loved surfing, and sometimes you need something as a release. I went from being the staunch, I think you have to be staunch, fucking idiot,
Yeah.
to the surfer who grew up on the Central Coast. I
Yeah.
just turned back into me. And weirdly enough, people were a lot cooler with me than the Iceman. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That was one of those things. I think I just got too deep in it, and then yeah, by the time we were ready to go to Afghanistan, we had a really good group of people who had their heads in the right spot.
I think, and a key point that and for any young listener who listens to this, mate, is that trust is once you lose trust, mate, it's so hard. You would have had to do a lot of work to get that back, and especially from guys that you're in life and death situations with. Like, that would have been a very hard thing. And probably, mate, good on you for the maturity to go, shit, I've got some work to do here. There's some serious work to be done.
Well, I mean, it's weird. I would like to say that it was a conscious decision, but it was almost a like bucket decision. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna be me. And that to me, that's the most important thing that anyone can do. You know what I mean? I guarantee you that if you're just you, you'll always get a better outcome. Like your gut instinct and you just being you is, people wear facades everywhere. Where does it get them? You know what I mean? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So and that, I think that got reinforced. That's probably the first time that I realized that I could just let go. I mean, you spend so many years having it reinforced when you're at school that, no, not you, the cool kids and this and that and whatever bullshit some idiot's saying about you or
Yep.
whatever, or that whole bullcrap about how it works
Yep.
and how you've got to conform and do all these things. It's the biggest crock of shit in the history of crock of shit. Like,
Yep.
it's like if you're unapologetically you, people will respect you. You'll find people you gel with, and they're the people who you should hang around with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
100%.
that's your clique. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like there's no, and like it's weird. Like I have this debate with the different people at different stages. They're just, oh, and that, and wouldn't you want to do this? And I'm like, why? I just don't. There's like nothing that I've got in common with that person. Like, I don't care what they do for a
Yep.
job or whatever. Like there's people who I like, or yeah, I don't know. It's weird, but that gives you to give yourself the freedom to just be yourself. It unlocks so many doors for the simple fact that you'll make decisions with no clouded judgment based on what you think the outcome will be from someone who doesn't fucking matter.
Yep.
Like, it always baffles me when people get like truly frustrated by trolls on the internet, because I'm like, on the internet you haven't got a face.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, if someone who I know and respect, or know I should respect, or am told that has got runs on the board, makes a comment about something, I still don't always take all of those on board. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I don't think anyone should. You still reserve right to have your own opinion.
Yep.
But people can get so carried away by someone who you literally could look at and go, this dude can't spell his own name. And he's having a crack at me on the internet about something that he thinks he's a genius about. Like, why would I waste my time? Yeah, it's wild.
When we spoke, mate, before, tall poppy syndrome. So, like, there'll always be people out there that'll want to cut you down, like, for
Yeah.
whether you got an opinion on something or whether you're doing something that they're not doing. And they're, like, I remember, as I said to you, like, people said, oh, it's luck that I've, written a book. It's like, well, no, it's hard work. Like,
Yeah,
like,
did it.
like,
Yeah. I
yeah,
ground away and I did it. Cool.
yeah, that's it.
The weird thing is I found most people just voice their anxiety saying it.
Yeah,
It's just them trying to like say, well, I couldn't do it. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like it's a
yeah.
that's one of the things. Like you hear so many stories, right? About and I remember this when I decided I wanted to act. So I got hurt 2009, whole world changed. Didn't need, like that's I guess we'll probably get into that in a little bit, but I noticed like you hear these stories about people who got discovered in Hollywood, and that's just luck that you're around the corner. And I always found that story fascinating because they didn't get discovered in fucking Idaho. They got discovered in Hollywood. Like they literally got discovered right in the place where they discover people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like if someone finds gold panning in a gold field, I'm probably going to be less shocked than someone who finds gold whilst panning in Fiji. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
but then there's this whole, oh my God, and it's just so lucky. And you're like, oh, really? So they had the skill to be that level of an actor and they got discovered in a town that is predominantly covered by actors. That's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
really too lucky if you ask me, but hey, whatever.
No, it's and I know what you're saying, mate. It's the hard work of, like they don't see the grind. They don't see, and that people don't, they only see the shiny, oh, they made it as an actor, but
Yeah,
they don't see that.
You see, to me, right, I get more satisfaction now in knowing, like, when social media was first such a big thing, everyone was showing you, like, fuck, they'll do a training, so they'll do a run in the morning and want to show you. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I don't have anything. I've never met one guy who's wildly successful who's got anything to prove. You just haven't. They just don't seem to exist. It's just, I think that's, but like I find the grind, if no one can see that I'm grinding, that's the one that means the most to me. Like for some reason that I can lock in a lot easier.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Someone can do it. You know what I mean? Like no one knows, no one sees it. And then I think that for me personally takes away the desire to have anyone's approval. I don't need anyone to know that I'm doing this. They don't even have to see the result. This is for me. This is me working on me to get better or to build something or to do something that's outside a normal realm. Because, like, why let opinions that are irrelevant to it creep in? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you can use them as motivation, but, the worst thing is you can use one of those opinions as motivation, but if it doesn't work, you're wrong, and someone who told you that you're going to be crap at something's right.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's this is like I find people these questions are a reasonably common one of like, Damien, so what do you think about when it comes to dealing with adversity? My primary go-to is to say, find a way to empower yourself. The only one who's going to get through it's you.
That's right.
Yes, you've got to be able to navigate, find the right people to support you through it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the dude looking into the mirror is you. So find a way to make that person believe that they can do whatever's happening in front of them. Find a way to win. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
You're not going to find a way to win by getting told you're going to lose by someone who doesn't even have to do it. You know what I mean?
Well, it sounds like, mate, honestly, like it's something that I use is. Like, and when I was at my lowest point, mate, I couldn't even tell myself I love myself in the mirror. Like, if you can't tell yourself you love yourself, and it's not being a dick about it, like actually genuinely looking back going, yeah, I love you. Like, and then I'm seeing across from you going, saying but it is, mate, you've got to love yourself before anyone else can love you. And you've got to be the fight. the inner fight to do anything has got to come from you. Like,
Yeah.
like you can't. And that's what I say. Like, people go, "Oh my God, how did you lose 66 kilos?" I've gone, I made a conscious decision that I didn't want to live my life being that weight anymore. I'd had enough. And I was just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I see so many people that are happy in life. Like, I've had such a shit life. I want to have a happy life. So I'll do whatever's necessary. I'll make the sacrifices.
Yeah, but see, I just thought of something. Like in all the chats that we've had, at the end of the day, right? One of my mates said this to me, right? We're in Whistler, and it was right before my Afghanistan deployment. And I remember I was burning him about it, and we always say it's about the stories. But I said to him, like, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, we're 27. Like, he's on a ski trip and he's 27. Like, and I'm over there just giving him life advice like I'm fucking Gandhi. Just like, just going, oh, bro. So what are you doing? So come on, you lift them. You putting plates away, mate. Like, what are you going to do with your life? Like, I got a place. I got all this sort of, I got a car. It's like it's a 1-bedroom rental unit in Randwick, man. Can't be a farm. Like, and then but I sort of he looked at me and said something that like I'm forever grateful that someone could say this at the time he did. But he just goes, man, when we're old and we're sitting next to each other in a nursing home, I don't want to have the moment where I look at you and say I sat on the sidelines. And I thought that's the coolest. That makes so much sense in so many different places. And I was just thinking about it when you said, man, I've had a shit life. I guarantee you that when you look back, when they're not going to be positive stories, you got some fucking cool ones.
Oh, I
You know what I
do.
mean?
Yeah.
Whether it's getting bullied, beaten up, whether it's anything like that, there's still stories that you can just go and this. And then the good thing about that is you're telling that story.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I
mate.
mean? No matter how hard it is, no matter how shit it seemed at the time, it becomes a fucking awesome story if you're sitting there being able to tell it because you got through it.
Yeah.
You walk through that fucking pain or whatever it was at the time. You walk through the distress. You put the emotion to the side and you did it. And it was you that did it as well.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's not like someone just carried you like you're a little child or something like through it. That's fucking you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's yeah.
It's like you. You made the conscious decision when Timor was like, right, I need to get to this point. And it was like me. I went, I need to make that conscious decision that I want to change my life and I want it to be better than where it is. And you're right,
I'm
mate.
willing to do it.
Yeah, and that was the willingness to fight. And that was, and mate, I said it at my 30th birthday. I said it last year, and like all my friends were like, "Oh my God, we're turning 30!" Like, "Oh my God!" And I'm like, I embrace it, mate. I was like, this is going to be the best decade going forward. Like, I'm so excited for the next 10 years of what's coming, and I embrace it. And I said at my 30th, I went, I've walked through hell and come out the other side. And, it's a rare thing to do when you've come back from where, mate, your lowest point is you're going to end your life. And you've had those similar thoughts yourself, mate. Like,
Yeah.
and you can't, people who haven't gone through it can't, they don't understand it. They won't, they don't know that point of, well, I'm out. I'm checking out. I'm, there's
Yeah,
no,
definitely ready to walk away from this, right?
yeah. Like, you hit rock bottom and you go, well, the only way is up. Like, you hit
Yes,
rock
and
bottom.
that's the thing as well. I mean, I think it's such a gift getting to that place because that is the fact of like, if anything happens, no matter how bad it can happen in a situation, it's not going to be as bad as that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a B grade problem. It's literally
Yeah.
it's a first world problem, whatever it is. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, and it's yeah, it's a sort of wild one, I guess. I mean, and I think one of the weird things about like me through a lot of the things I've gone through. I mean, after when I got injured in Afghanistan, I made a pretty quick recovery. My body bounced back well. I wanted to be as normal as possible. I still saw myself as normal. I was still Damien. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
looked at like my coffee and shit like that. I was still ready to
Yep.
So for me, it was just a battle of doing the simple things that I used to do. So it was part of that was walking, part of it was wanting to go back to work, wanting to deploy. And I never understood. I honestly never got why people were making such a big deal of it. I'm just like, all I am is a dude who's just walking, doing his thing. And they're like, but it's amazing. It's inspiring. I said, I'm getting a coffee, man. You're getting a coffee as well. Like, I'm not clapping you. Like, what is the deal? The weird thing is now, but at the age that I am, I look how young the kid is. And I kind of get where they're coming from. I'm like, there's part of them going, geez, that guy's young, you know, but yeah, like and I've got so many of those sort of moments that I don't know. It's hard to describe. I think I forgot where I'm going there.
No, no, no. So so like you'd been obviously you recovered quick, and you were like, like people are like, oh, you're such an inspiration. You're like,
You just don't see it.
yeah, you're not seeing it. Like,
I didn't see any of it, you know. To me, it was just me doing what I was doing at life. Like I never quite got like now I think the older and wiser I get, I can kind of understand it that I was looking back at it, I was so hell bent on living a normal life that I was uncompromising in the way I was going to get there.
mm,
You
mm,
know, I was gonna make sure that I got there. Like it didn't matter if you're a doctor, I don't give a shit how much experience you've got. Watch this.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, and that was just sort of the driving force with it. But on the same hand, there's been, there times where things haven't been for me. And I only noticed this now. It's the last like 5 years, since I met my wife. I actually met her when I was like 2. She lived a couple of doors up, and then she moved out when she was 14. And like it's a pretty long story. We ended up hooking up like 5, 6 years ago, 6 years ago, and we the thing was like I only noticed then when I started to like not drink as much, not do like I changed my habits in a really
yeah,
positive way. You know, my daughter turns 5 in like November, and I can count on one hand how many times I've actually been drunk, and I've never been drunk around her. You know
yep,
what I mean? Like
yep,
it's something that but I also noticed then how unstable some of the other places that I've been have been
yep.
through that process. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a really weird one, and like people don't, and I haven't spoken to publicly about it because it's never been my job to do, and now I just don't really care. But like, and that was it. I sort of towed the line, so to speak. So then wheel you out, and you're the inspirational veteran who's not letting anything do it. You smile for the photo, you give them a couple of lines, and everything's great. And then you sort of like, this and blah blah blah. And you're like that. What they don't know is you were drunk for like 3 days before it. You know what I mean? Like there was,
Trying to numb the pain. Trying to numb the
yeah,
pain.
you're just
Yeah,
doing it in a different way. And then like boredom was always one. Like it's kind of weird when you have different parts of your life. My life goal before I get injured was to, 2.3 kids by the time I'm 55. Hopefully, I own the house I want on the way to getting the car of my dreams. And in one night, I had it all.
yep.
Like it's a scary thing to know that you don't have any of those like goals, that your entire timeline's changed. Everything about how you're going to do things has changed. And it wasn't until like, partway through it, after the snowboarding bit didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. I mean, I knew it was just always going to be stacked up against me. It was like, and I find it really hard. It's a similar thing that's happening in the golf world now. They're like, you've just got to work harder. And I'm like, dude, by working harder, you're literally telling me to just be less disabled. Do you know what you're doing? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I could probably rant about that. That could be 45 minutes. I wouldn't even
Yeah.
take a breath, and I'd get it all out.
But I think, mate, we'll go back to your actual. So we'll go back to that night. So Afghan, you get over there, and so in your pre-deployment, like training that I know you go through, were they starting to talk about the IEDs a lot more, or was there a lot around the IEDs? Do you remember, or?
Uh, be honest, the majority of it that I can remember was getting used to vehicle-based operations. We definitely did training around it, but a majority of it was just the TTPs when it came to how to operate vehicles, what we were doing,
Yeah.
lessons learned from previous deployments, how to get into specific spots, what we were doing, um, approaches to compounds, because everything that we'd done originally on like the commando training course was like more based on jungle warfare, more Vietnam style stuff. And then all of a sudden it didn't matter if your watch was reflecting or you didn't have cam cream on your face because you can see you. You can see you from fucking 2Ks away.
Yeah.
I
You're in the
mean, like
desert. You're in the sandpit. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. I mean, you're in this spot where there's, I mean, you all the lessons about how advantageous high ground is and cover and things like that, then just take a different meaning. You've
Yeah.
got to sort of adjust to it. But in the pre-deployment, we've done a bit of work. We worked with like the minesweepers and stuff. I remember doing stuff with JT, who we lost 10 days before I got hit. And that was I'll tell you about that in a second.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I remember working with him. We did some specific training at Holsworthy in the pre-deployment on what they were going to do, how we were going to help, what we could do when things needed to happen, old school methods, the new school ways that they do it, the equipment that they use. And yeah, we actually did for a project, a photography project, which has got interviews with it. We did one of the boys who was one of the snipers in recon. John Dixon. I still don't know whether his nickname's Dicko, but it's spelt Dyson, and I don't know. It could be Dixon.
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know. But yeah, which is weird because we're good mates. I call him, every
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And he he explained the process because he was looking through the binos of what happened when JT got hit, which was that was when it sort of got real in Afghanistan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You sort of it's anytime that you're carrying someone back in a bag, it's a very, very real moment. And like just other things, we had a really fun talk. Everyone's been around, especially in my situation, everyone's been really not caged. We haven't talked about it enough. I think the weird thing is I was trying to protect Ian Turner, he committed suicide in 2017, right?
Yeah.
The conversations that we were having for probably 18 months before it, like sort of centered around the fact I was like, man, I wasn't saying anything to you because I wanted to make sure you were ready. And he's saying the same thing to me.
Yeah.
We just weren't doing the thing. And then he was sort of had his psychiatrist said, look, you got to talk to him about it. So we did. We had some really good talks about what he did that night. And I got, I've heard a few different sort of versions of the story. But like it was interesting and a really weird feeling to hear it firsthand so this guy, right, and this is a just one of those things that happens. He spoke to the boss when they were organizing. He said, look, I want guys on this part of the hill, words to that effect. They went up to the recce. He's gone, look, we need to sweep this bit. And the response was like, what is your fascination with using the bomb detection squad? Which I don't know, I guess it can work for you and against you. But I only found out this week that we had a bomb detection squad that was at the back of the convoy waiting until we're going to need them. Which we probably did just a touch before whatever. But yeah, let's not split hairs.
Yeah.
So we're because mum, and this is the thing that, I mean, people have to see and deal with hard things. Everyone knows that that's the case. But if you've made a call like that and almost been ridiculed for it, and then you've got to watch a guy get ripped apart, that's a tough one. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm really proud to call him a friend, and I'm proud of how he is and the way that he carries himself. Like I left there uplifted. Also just left there just like, how can he be so casual and so cool about that? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
the dude's, he just does it well, man. He carries it well. He's like one of those dudes who was born to do it. But like we were talking about it, and he said with mine, like I've heard a lot of different things with it, but he actually said I was taking it pretty well. He goes, to be honest, you were taking it like a champ a bit. And I was like, okay, well, that's kind of pretty much what I would expect. And but like he said, through the icon radios, right, we can hear what they say, obviously, because it's not the 50s. And they were sort of saying, because there was a group of them in the village, and the women and children, I can remember the women and children leaving 2 days before. Like you knew that it was on.
Yeah.
And when the bomb went off with me, when my car hit the IED, which we're driving in each other's wheel tracks, but when it went bang, they were like, wow, they were all screaming down in the village. Like they were pretty impressed with themselves, which didn't impress our guys, oddly enough. So the thing, but when they got me, and like it blew a cylindrical hole because they had two tank mines stacked up on top of each other. They just piggyback them, but it's a shape charge.
Yep.
But rather than it flipping the car, it just picked it up and turned it like 90 degrees and moved it a fair way. For
Yep.
how heavy the car is, it moved a long way. My leg was gone. My foot got found in the back.
Yeah, right.
Found that out like 2 days ago. Crazy. Yeah, still stuck in the metal. And I'm like, why not send that back? Seriously, I've got some cool memorabilia in my man cave, which we're in
Yeah.
right now. And I don't have my foot from Afghanistan, do I? Like we left it over there. And then but yeah, but he was telling me that like and the two other guys sort of had blew out eardrums in it. We had a whole team of people, everyone jumped too, but they were using headlamps
Yep.
to do the initial work, and the red light wasn't working well enough. So they go to white light, and over the ICOM radios, you could hear that they were about to like engage
Yeah, come in for the ambush.
that
Yeah.
stage. And they'd fired a couple of 84s at a compound that they were getting chatter out of, because we can tell where it's coming from as well.
Yep.
I mean, the war's over now, so we had technology that could tell us exactly where things were coming from as long as we had the right shit out there. So they'd done that and boffed a couple of those, but then it was my team commander as well, because I originally thought it was like a heap of people. It was literally only two teams and the snipers. Like it was a really small contingent of guys. And then the platoon HQ vehicle had to come, which is the one that had Scotty Palmer and stuff like that in it. And
Yep.
then everything sort of changed. And my team commander at the time said, look, don't engage them. Or if we get into a firefight, the choppers might not come in. We got to get him out. So without that, I'd struggle to be. I mean, they're still just baffled that I'm alive anyway. But a really interesting thing was, because the boys were there, and then they would say, look, they're going to shoot at the light. Everyone, let's go black. They'd turn the headlamps off, and they said that was the moment that I started to panic.
Yeah, right.
Proper clawing, panicking, freaking out. And like, to give it perspective, both arms are broken, that elbow's hanging out. This one's on an S bend, and I'm trying to grab and do all sorts of stuff. They're hearing bones grinding, and like I was seriously freaking out, because he goes, the only way that anyone can describe it is when the lights went out, it was like you thought that you were going.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like I just was doing everything. He said you were like losing it, and then they'd turn the lights on, and they'd like you get people's heads coming closer to you and stuff, and then they keep working and working, and then it'd be like they've got to go dark again, and then I'd freak out again. Like it would be, and I remember like one of the boys, Tim Boyd, like he was my team commander, was next to me, telling me that like my hands just kind of trying to push and hold his face, and he showed me what it feels like with his hands, and he goes, I had you mounted because I was sort of trying to run away when the lights went off,
Yep.
like we don't. Yeah, that was the first time I'd heard that's what happened on the ground. And then yeah, we had little moments like towards the end of it was like 56 minutes. And then when they'll put me on the chopper, they got me on this like stretcher thing, and both my arms are all sorts of fucked up. And one of the loadies says to Turns and just goes, mate, we can't put him on the chopper unless his arms are across his chest. And he's like fuck, man, what? Are you serious? And he's like, yeah, like the chopper's got a fair bit of space too. Not that like an arm just hanging out a
Yeah.
little bit would make a difference, but Turns like, he said it was one of the hardest things he's done. He literally tapped me on the chest and said, fuck, I'm sorry, man. I'm screaming like a bitch while he's strapping my arms down across my chest. And then he said that at that moment, like when he saw how bad I was when I was leaving there and what was happening, because I was like pretty much passing out and in and out, all sorts of shit was going wrong. He sort of tapped me and said goodbye. He did that and just was done. And yeah, I still don't remember any of that. I remember the women and children walking away. I remember waking. And that was a weird thing. I was talking to him about it, and I was like, you know what? I've never once felt weird when, like, I didn't initially when people said you've lost your legs. I never had. I was never in shock. I can't remember ever being surprised by it. And I said, did I know? Like when I was on the ground, did I know? And he goes, man, you were, by all accounts, you were saying stuff, but you were in and out. Like you weren't quite there. Like you knew that you were pretty badly fucked up, but you didn't quite know how badly type thing.
Mm.
So I was like, yeah, okay, it's yeah, like it was just always one of those things that I wanted to know. I mean, did I, you know, did I know? Well, like why sometimes you wonder why your body has certain emotional responses. And yeah, then it was just sort of the journey back. Try to do what I can.
And then you get back to TK, and then did they take you straight to Germany after that, or did you?
They took me to a UK base. We're in a place near Helmand.
Yeah.
I actually have the name of it, the name of the town, and this is pretty awesome. I've actually got it now.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's called Sultan Rabat.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right.
That's the town in Afghanistan that once I become a billionaire, I'm going to buy, um, or at least do something. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know, help their little town out. I guess I think we owe it to them. But yeah, that was the first time I'd heard the town's sort of name or anything. But yeah, it was that, and then I got taken to a UK base called Helmand. Oh, sorry, called Bastion.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I'm actually talking to a crewie actually from over in England actually, and she mentions in her book a lot actually. So yeah, and
yeah,
then
Bastion was the save place.
yeah, and then what do you remember after that? Like, do you remember like they obviously patched you up, and then you get
Sort
flown?
of, yeah. So the way the patch up process worked, but I went through probably like 6 times the average human's units in blood while I was there. And there are two transfusions that I got, which are worth 70 odd $1,000 each.
Yeah, right.
And no one to this day knows what they are. It's crazy. I've still got it written in my med docs, and I'm like, whatever the fuck it is, I want more of it. I
Yeah,
don't know
mate.
what it is, but I want more. And
Yeah.
like, so that was during the process, but my parents got the phone call. They got a phone call when they're on the 11th hole out at Magenta Shores golf course. Look, Damien's been hit. It's bad. Like it's really bad. Um, at the moment, he's looking like he's going to be a triple amputee. And if he can't hold his temperature underneath the space blanket, there's nothing we can do. So they yeah, I don't know. I think they played I don't even know. I don't think they played the rest of the round of golf. They might have given it a,
Might have given it a miss.
might have.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They're pretty keen golfers. I've never, you know, that's something of all these times I've never asked them whether they finished the round of golf.
You might have
They
to,
wouldn't
mate.
have. They wouldn't have.
No.
My old man gets bothered if bloody half a thing goes wrong. He'll get the shit. So
Yeah,
there's no way.
I think getting your son could, he's on the very,
Yeah,
he's
he's
on the
got
very,
it.
yeah, there's, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
on the same hand, I can see mum going, "Well, we can't do anything. I mean, what are we going to do? We'll just go home, or like, what are we?"
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no. So and then, yeah, they went back. Then they put me under the space blanket just to see if my body could hold its own temperature. If
Yeah,
it
right.
there's nothing they could do, heating it up would send it into toxic shock and kill it. So yeah, I ended up I could do it, and they sent me over to Germany. And I think the first memory I have memories of like mum and dad being there. Um, but like one of the first like conscious memories of stuff happening, they had people who would come and visit you,
Yeah.
and some lady who's like, I think she was a big deal in the US at the time, and I didn't care. I was like, I do not know this lady. You've sent a big raid celebrity. I don't care. It was sort of like that. And then next thing rocks through the door and it's Stephen Baldwin. And I'm like, first I get her and now I get the forgotten Baldwin brother. Like, so I said that and I just started this little rant and his mate was recording it. Like, and it was just me just giving him shit. Like, how does it? Awesome. So, are there any other shadows you want to live in while you're here? It was so bad. And then, and like, the thing is, I'm a fan of all of his work. Like, he's so good in everything that he's in. He's
Yeah.
brilliant. And by all accounts, like I wrote to he gave me their card, like their foundation's card, and I wrote to him by the time I was like conscious enough to
Yeah.
do just apologizing for being a dick. And he said, to be honest, yours was one of the more entertaining visits that we've had there. Like it kind of was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Yeah, to go to the roast of Stephen Baldwin, courtesy of the guy who'd only just survived. Um, and yeah, then it was the process of like, and that's a really in and out process. I got back to the ICU in Sydney, and by all accounts, I was an arsehole. I think I'm the worst case, the worst behaved patient that they've had in the 30-year history of North Shore Private's ICU. And I think that's very like you could literally, and that's not just me. Anyone who's listening to this who finds himself in the ICU, say, who's the worst patient that you guys have ever had? And they'll go, that guy.
Yeah, right.
Apparently it was just belligerent. I just didn't want anything. I was like that. You know when you've got that drunk mate who gets to the point.
Yeah.
I was permanently him. I was him for like a week. But they put me in this like room in the corner. And like I remember at one stage, I don't know whether I'd had too much of the ketamine or whatever they were pumping into me at the time, but I remember looking out one of the windows and everyone looked like they were dressed out of Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like there was some wild times in my mind, but the weird thing about how I was like in there compared to when I went up to the normal level, when I went up to the normal level, I was fine. You know, I was like a bit more myself, but a few years later, like this is a good 3 years later, I had a bursitis in my elbow and I went down and they had to put a PICC line in.
Yep.
And I went down there, and this nurse has come up, and she's sort of like pissed off. And I was like, oh, I've never seen it before, but I know what it looks like when someone's pissed off because I've pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah.
And she like is just like looking at me with this like,
Resting bitch face.
yeah, but not resting bitch face, like the aggressive bitch face.
All right.
Like I was like, hey, how you going? Have we met? And she's like, oh, have we met? And I'm like, yeah, cool. Like, look, obviously you were here. Look, I'm sorry. I don't really know what to say. I really respect what you guys do. And yeah, I mean, that explains what I've done. It doesn't excuse my actions. I kind of gave that one and okay, just arrogantly walked off. And I thought, fuck that bitch. And then another lady comes over who I've never seen before. And I'm like, I'm just trying to get this pick line put in. And then this lady just like looks over me with this like disgusted look. I'm like, oh God. Okay, look, I'm sorry, I guess. Like I don't know what you guys want me to do. And she goes, well, we accept apologies in, flowers and chocolates. And I said, how about 2 legs for the country that you live in being safe, darling? Like I cracked it at that stage. I was just like there, and her face changed all of a sudden. But then the weird thing was, right, after I got the pick line in, I had one of the nurses was sort of all right with it. It was like she sort of understood. And I said, look, can you just do us a favor? And she goes, what's that? I said, I want to know what room I was in. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, can you just show me the room that I spent time in? Like, my brain's telling me I've never been in this before. Like, I've never seen any wall inside where I am. And I've got people who apparently know me who are looking at me in a way, and I don't know how to process this. And she goes, yeah, okay, no worries. So she stood up, walked over, holding a little thing, and she goes, that was your room in the corner, cut off sort of in a weird spot. And the only way that I knew she was telling the truth was I could remember in the list of photos that I've got, Paul Kenny and God, my girlfriend and another guy, Joel Packer, who was great through it as well, who was a captain, were all in the room when I was getting presented with medals. I could remember what the space around the bed looked like, and then I was like, I kind of had this, okay, so that I've got photos of this room, I think. And this, like, I could see the nurse processing that I seriously didn't know what the deal was. You know what I mean? I absolutely had no idea whatsoever. And yeah, that was, I guess it's sort of an example of like my mind could seem so sharp.
Yeah.
I was still trading stocks when like 3 weeks after I'd been injured. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
It was wild. I was just doing those sort of things in the room, but I would go through patches where it worked and patches where it didn't.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the battles. Like and also at the start, I couldn't open my hand. I could close it, and it's my left arm as well. That had to cut through the nerve when they put the plates in. So I didn't know there's ever going to be able to write again. And like you have that moment. I don't know if you've ever seen like, is it Kill Bill? Where Uma Thurman,
moving the foot, moving the big
yeah,
toe. Yeah, yep.
move your big toe.
Yeah.
That like emotionally is like it gave me a different perspective into what like paraplegics and quadriplegics go through.
Yep.
With limbs doing stuff. You know what I mean? Because like looking at it and your brain's doing everything it can to tell it to do it, and it's not moving. You know what I mean? Like it took it a while. And they told me, they go, look, nerve grows back it grows back a while at a time, and then blah blah blah. If that doesn't work, we can give you a nerve graft, and
Yep.
there's all this, except none of. So there's no. You get really used to the fact that there's no instantaneous fixes.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Which was really good for my personality because I've always been keen on the instantaneous one. And yeah, then there was like lots of moments there. It was the cool thing about that was, right, and I've still got this little yellow book. My parents organized everyone who meant anything to me growing up, like that had the sort of time to come down and visit. So for me, it was literally like I'm just laying in the bed, just morphined up to the hilt, little button that I can push with it, with all my good friends coming down. It was great. I was hanging out. I could sleep. I could literally go to sleep if I wanted in the middle of the day. I hadn't been able to do it for like 5 years. I thought it was brilliant. And like, yeah, so I've still got that little book. It's got everyone's little notes that they wrote and stuff like that, like of the time. And it was there was a lot going on. I mean, like some of the things that haven't, like I broke the bone from a prosthetic not being set up right in my left arm.
Yeah, right.
I had to get my arm reset, and now it doesn't sit flat. Now it sits on the thumbs up, and the thumb should be flat. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I was injured. I had a staph infection in my right arm that, because of being on antibiotics, as soon as I landed in Bastion, we couldn't isolate what it was. So, I had one doctor come in and tell me that I was going to need to, for the rest of my life, I was going to have to walk around with a belt on that had a little thing of antibiotics that was pumping through my system. So I fired him. I said that, like, if that is the answer that we're getting in the day and age that we live in, this isn't our guy. So we ended up getting this guy called Bernie Hudson, who he was a legend. He openly said it. He came in, he tested. 48 hours later, he goes, "We still can't find what it is." I've gone, "Well, I think we're going to find it, aren't we, Bernie?" You know what I mean? I'm kind of doing that. We're going to sort this one out. And then I ended up on a range of like these antibiotics, which were just tigecycline, romycin, flucinin, and ciprofloxacin.
Jesus.
It's 15 years ago, man, and I remember the names of all of them. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, it was hard. It was hardcore to try and kill that, to kill the infection in my arm. But that was like, that was just pieces of it. You know what I mean? I had so many operations on it. When I was snowboarding in the US after, like, I broke my back. That was my stupidity. But then I spoke like this for a while, and I thought it was just because I had a cold.
Yeah.
But after doing it for 2 months, I thought, this is a really bad cold. So I went and got it checked out. And what had happened was, and I'd just flown back from Brazil. Like, I went over on a 3-week holiday with my girlfriend at the time, went to Sao Paulo, all around the place and stuff like that.
Yep.
I felt a little bit run down, but not horrific. And I went back and I still had the voice thing. And I'm like, the weird thing was I could talk like this. So I could go like that. But if I tried to talk in my normal voice, I would speak like that. It was really odd. And then I went into the doc and he goes, "Look, we're going to have to get you scanned." I got a CT scan and I had a cyst in my chest the size of a golf ball.
Yeah, right.
It was between my trachea and esophagus, which you got 2 nerves that run from your ears. One goes around your heart and they both go, one goes sort of up the middle.
Yep.
It had been crushed to the point where they're like, it's too far apart for it to connect again. So I'm like, so what? I talk like this, talk like Darren Lockyer forever? Like, but he's already, why does it always have to be someone who's done something that makes it famous? You know what I mean? Darren Lockyer with that. I did the Kokoda Trail. Kurt Fernley ruined that for everybody. I'm already doing it. You know what I mean? Like, and then I went, and this was the best joke. One of the doctors, I must have seen him before, right? He's got me laid on this bed. Like, I'm laying on, waiting to go into surgery. And he gives me this like injection, and I was just like, oh my God, what is that? And he goes, that's the drug that killed Michael Jackson. And in that moment, I really understood what Michael Jackson's fascination was with that drug.
Yeah, right.
But like, I then had this guy like sort of walking in, running me through what was about to happen with my operation. He goes, "Oh, you look, so we're doing this, but there's only a 40% success rate, and and this is literally right before I'm going out." And he's giving me the like, it's like it's a 95% success rate to put the silicon thing in, and he
Yeah.
knew what he was doing the whole time. Like it was the best time I think any surgeon has ever got me through that process of it. It's just
Yeah.
40% success rate, but don't worry, we're gonna do our best for you, and blah blah blah. And then the guy's like, you can count down now. In my mind, I'm going, get me out, 40%. I'd rather speak like Darren Lockyer than not be able to talk. Like I thought it was going to be a mute. And then, they told me not to yell. Like that was one of the things.
Yeah.
During the Roosters game, a couple of days after getting out of hospital, I had been so controlled. So controlled. And then off pops. I think it was probably Sonny. I don't even know who it was. It was try time. And it was try time at a critical time. I remember yelling and I felt it in there and I was like, oh no. No, you haven't. Oh my God. It was,
Oh, and mate, I know how much you love your Roosters, so that there's been a lot of heartache for you, and you just had this done, and be like, you bastard, you've just, I've just had this.
Go, yes. There was something, and then bam, like, oh God.
And one thing that when I read your book was the phantom pains, mate, that you had, and I didn't understand phantom pains until I read your book, and then I read Paul's book, and also Curtis McGrath's book, and it was like, holy crap, like what you went through, and also Paul's book as well, Paul Warren as well, like for you. How debilitating was that for you? Like the phantom pains?
Like when I was in the hospital, the hard thing I found about the initial part of phantom pain is you can still feel, because your nerves haven't totally sorted their shit out, you can still feel stuff between your toes.
Yeah,
You
right.
feel as if someone's touching you and they're not there. So I started hitting the end of my stumps, which really hurts.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was positive or negative, but I did it just to to try and remap my brain. You know what I mean? Even to this day, I still get, if I'm active on my legs, you just know you're locked in for a night of it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a really indescribable type of pain. The weird thing is, paracetamol is the best treatment for it. For mine,
right.
every person's different, and I tried everything from high end, high powerful, everything's into like all these different weird ones. Oh God, I've got herbal remedies, everything.
Yep.
Best ones for me is paracetamol. So yeah, I mean, like nerve pain is such a God, it's such a different beast because it's a different type of pain. You know what I mean? Like it hurts in a different way to other things. Like, it was funny. I was trying to explain it. Like, I don't think there's anything as like wild as chicks giving birth, except when we're on the way in, I was in the last trimester, she's getting these like jolts and just going, oh my God, that's the worst thing I've ever felt. And then blah, 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 blah. And like, you've got to be supportive. So you can't go, that's 3 or 4 times a day. You know what I mean? Like every day for like 10 years now, but you're not doing it. And I think you sort of get used to it as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And do they do like psychologists? Can they you can work with your psychologist and that as well to sort of, or is it just something that like, is there techniques and things that you can use or?
I've done a lot of work on making sure that my brain's map of how my body works. Like I read a book by Norman Deutsch called The Brain That Changes Itself.
Yep.
If you've been through a major incident anyone has, I recommend that book.
Okay.
Like one of my best mates, my groomsmen, him and his wife, we all went to high school together. They recommended that book, and it will change the way that you see your ability to alter the way that you think. You
Yeah,
know what I
right.
mean? Like you can do it. Just neuroplasticity is essentially the crux of the book. So then people we're funny creatures. The placebo effect.
Yeah.
It's known that it works.
Yep.
This book tells you that you can rewire things. So this is how crazy it is. But I went through a period of time, and this was hard. Like when you're 29 years old and you get a book, um, like this is how bad my memory was. I've got Slash wrote a book, and it's really cool because it's broken up into little bits.
Yep.
I've bought that book 3 times, like, and not remembered that I bought it, and not known like stories that are in it. Like I went through a period of time where I could open a book, read a paragraph that I cared about, make sure I remembered it, put it down, go do something else, like say,
Yep.
make a sandwich, mix a coffee, do something, come back to the book and swear I haven't not remember one word.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
and that like when you're when you're young, you kind of like I don't that was a hard one to sort of grasp. But then when I read The Brain That Changes Itself, it gave me a bit more confidence that I could do it.
Mm.
I started taking a thing called N-acetylcysteine with one of the brain sort of it's a nootropic, but it was a relatively primitive one because it was so like long ago. It's called Memory and Cognition by like Herbs of Gold, and I would have one of them and that in the morning, and I started being able to read and remember and hold stuff again. I mean, it still gets in and out, but yeah,
Well,
there's there's some of the weird complications that you don't really factor in. Like when you're forgetting stuff like that, it's stuff gets hard.
oh, absolutely. And part of your part of your recovery process was that you wanted to be at your mate's wedding and you wanted to, and that was a driving factor for you to, be there and was that the focus you needed to get to his wedding to you wanted to stand at his wedding for the first part of your recovery?
Yeah, I mean the first part was standing for the boys when they got back off the plane.
Yeah.
Like, and then it was like at the wedding, I wanted to be able to do it and do what I needed to do as a part of you know what I mean? I wanted to
Yeah.
participate in all the bits. I didn't want to have any special sort of sideways things happen. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted to have to be, because I'd had a couple of times where, people would take me down places. I remember getting taken to the races, and I partway through the day, there was just no way I could wear legs anymore. We had to get a wheelchair out of the car, and then there's a small curtain in the old member section at Ramwick that I ended up behind, and someone's come up like ready to go. What are you doing here? And I got my pants off, trying to take pants off prosthetic legs so that I can sit in a wheelchair. I mean, I just
Yeah.
wanted to try and do it with as much dignity as possible. And I mean, I think things like that are important to have goals.
Yeah.
I find it in everyday life. Like I think that was the free lesson. I've got more free lessons out of running over a bomb than I could get in 6 lifetimes. I mean, a million self-help books can't teach you the way experience can. I mean, that's one of the gifts of it.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
realize,
Absolutely.
you know that, right? That
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to have a goal or something that you're pushing forward to, or you feel stagnant, and
Yeah.
it gives you purpose.
Yep.
That's one thing you got to like remember when the cards are fucking all bouncing against you, when everything's going bad, your back's against the wall, you're trying to empower yourself. Why are you trying to empower yourself? Your first thought needs to be, what is my purpose here? And
Yep.
it doesn't necessarily have to be the long game purpose. It can be something really, really simple, like not get beaten in this next 5 minutes, or just make this little bit of this action work.
Yep.
Even though in the whole thing you're trying to walk perfectly, you just want this heel strike to feel right and roll through. That's it. Did I get it? No. I'll try it this time. Did I get it? That's closer. Did I get it? That's closer. And you sort of breaking it down into bite-sized pieces rather than a big conglomerate.
Well, it's something my mentor says to me, mate, when sometimes I still get where I feel I'm not shifting, and she goes, 2 millimeters a day. 2 millimeters a day, that's all you have to do. And she said, 2 millimeters a day, just keep progressing forward. And there's a saying that, Denzel Washington uses, which I love. He used to like when everyone says, make sure you got something to fall back on. And he always says, I never like that. He said, because you can't see what's behind you. You can only see what's fall forward into it. So, as long as you're moving forward each day and progressing, that's what it's all about. And for you, you mentioned Kokoda, and I know one of your good mates was Scotty Palmer, and you were close, and he died in 2010. And you walked with your adopted father, Ray Palmer. You did Kokoda together. How was that for you? Like, how special was it to do that with Ray?
It was special. I mean, we actually caught up on the project we're working on at the moment, and we had a great time talking about it. It was sort of reminiscing. I still can't to this day understand especially having a son. I don't know what it would feel like and losing one. It's it was a healing process. I saw my job as sort of being there for him. There were a few sort of parts of the trip that had to do with it being a bit more of a circus, for lack of a better word, when it came to what they were doing to try and, make some people money out of it. Which I think detracted a little bit from how great of an experience it could have been just with me and Ray. Like, we got some cool stories for it, but we probably could have got them another way.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, and ultimately, doing Kokoda was never high on my list of shit to do as an amputee. You know what I mean? So if
Yep.
Ray hadn't asked me, I probably wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean? So yeah, and there were bits that, and seeing the difference that I think it made, especially for Ray. I mean, I would like to think that Scotty would do the same thing for my dad.
Mm.
We still talk about, we still spin shit about the stories of stuff that we did on Kokoda. Like, we we like having a beer at that stage. We liked having a beer for the boys.
Yep.
When we got to the end of the list, we liked starting the list again. And God, we got to bed by probably 3 o'clock before day one. You leave at 5:10 in the morning. So me and Ray on day one are just struggling so badly. It was the worst. But yeah, I mean, like, stuff like that. The thing was that helped both of us through. You know what I mean? It was it was overall, it was a good experience, but I think it would have been better if we didn't have cameras there, if it wasn't being recorded for something else. You know what I mean? And that was one of the tough things. I mean, it's one of the tough things about, I guess, being in the position that I was at that stage. I was the worst injured guy we had since Vietnam. So if there was a political spin about the war, they were going to wheel someone out. You know what I mean? And that was a lot of it. Were a lot of bits of the stress to do with that. You got to toe the line. I
Yeah.
want the defense force. I want the guys that looked after me to be viewed in the best light as humanly possible. And, so that means sometimes you got to put what's, tearing away at you aside, and then put on that brave face for the moment that you've got to be in front of that camera. And I think, while I love the Kokoda experience, I think that a lot of it was, it sort of felt like doing that.
More, like what are they? Yeah, what's it? Yeah, I'm trying to think of it, but I can't think of the word. Anyway, yeah, it's gone from me. But
Yeah, yeah.
I think for you in 2011, you in your book you said that was your hardest year. You hit rock bottom, and that was really hard for you. Is that because obviously you'd had your recovery, like you were going through, you're still recovering. You'd had been there for the boys. You'd had the wedding. You'd done Kokoda, and then you're as you've said throughout the podcast, you're a purpose driven guy. You need that next thing. Was that when it just hit you that, well, what is the purpose now? Like I've done these things, or
It was a collection of things. Um, like it was. I think my actual lowest point was later than that.
yeah, okay,
That
yeah,
was just
right,
the lowest point to date.
yeah,
It was yeah, like that one. I think it was more a betrayal. Like there was a guy at work that I'd done a significant amount of stuff to make one of his dreams a reality. Stuff that I didn't have to do. It's not my obligation to do it.
yep,
I don't care about the process of things that we were doing, which to people who are interested in that world sounds wild, but I just don't, man. I'm a surfer. That's just how I am. That sort of shit doesn't bother me. And it ended up kicking me in the teeth. We had a drunk argument one night that somehow got back to the unit, and yeah, then I was like seriously unstable at that stage, and it almost cracked me. Like it was bad, and that was the reason. That was essentially the reason why I left. When I thought if the unit's going to back up the way that this happens, I don't know these guys. Like I've had enough of this shit. Like so, and that was when it was sort of like I've walked out the door. What am I going to do? You know what I mean? How do I do things? Like what? Yeah. So there was a few sort of moments. I mean, at different stages. I have one where it's inexcusable. Um, it's barbaric. It's personal. There aren't really any good ways to frame it. The complaint that I put in about it was, I think they cottoned on when we got about 14 emails through that I was blind CCing every single big number that I had in my phone. And at that stage, that's a lot.
yeah,
So
yep,
yeah, it was one of those, but hey, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know. I'll never be glad that that happened. Like
mm,
there was a really bad situation, which the only reason why I'm still here is because I've gone that close to having my parents bury me. I don't give a fuck who tries to kill me. They're not doing it.
mm,
That's my job. Like, and that was essentially that was the thing at that stage that was the only reason. And I was so angry with the person who I'd heard initiated this part of the process that I had to give my word to my dad that I wasn't going to do anything. That was how bad it was. Like it was. It's repugnant. There really isn't a word for it. I mean,
no, no, I mean, you and I have spoken, mate. Of yeah, like we've both been there, and it's when you're in that moment, you're not thinking clearly, you're not thinking rationally. You just want the
mine
pain.
was, yeah. It was weird. It was just a form of, I think, for the things that people didn't see, and especially the organization that initiated that little bit, was that there was a guy that I look at now as a kid who literally was breaking down on the inside, putting a really, really brave face on. Every single time it was asked of him, he was doing the right thing by the ADF, by everyone who wanted it, everyone who needed it, all these boys, everything, and then being targeted for that, saying, "Look how healthy you are. You're fine."
Hmm.
I mean that the betrayal of that was a little bit much.
Oh,
And it literally it cost sort of 4 or 5 months of my life. I didn't leave the house. I didn't do a bunch of different things. I mean, and then the weird thing about this, didn't leave the house for normal things. But if there was something that I needed to do, I was an ambassador of Defense Care at the time. If there was something I needed to do from them, I would get a haircut, do everything I needed to do, put my shirt on, go out and do the interview. And then go back and just not want to leave.
Yep.
It was really, really, really weird. And I mean, I know I haven't said too much about sort of that side of things. It was funny. I think I had a conversation with one of the guys who was involved in the sort of thing. And at that stage, I'd found golf as something that was really helping me. I could leave my phone somewhere.
Yep.
Spend 4 hours out in fresh air playing a game that you need to focus. You need to be able to clear your head of all the other mess that's going on to play it well. And I'm that competitive. I want to, and it worked. And he said something stupid like, "Oh, geez, it must be hard to go, just go out and play golf all day and blah, blah, blah. And, wish I had time to do that." I say, "It must be hard all day to do that. I tell you what's hard, going to a hotel and showering on your ass, waking up with nerve pain at night." I literally started to list off all of these different bits. By the end of it, I think he kind of regretted the fact that he'd said it. And I was like so insulted by the throwaway line that I was kind of like, but on the same hand, it's just people, man. To me, that's that guy batting his average. His average just isn't very high. Some people will baffle you in positions they are in, whilst they are,
It's mate, it's funny. It's the old saying. It's something it's a couple of things I live by is that never judge a book by its cover and never judge what chapter you walk into someone's life. You don't know what they've gone through. And another one is, it's funny when try when the boots are on the other foot of, that try walking a mile in their shoes when, and it's such a throwaway line of, "Oh, well, isn't it great to do this?" Well, yeah, isn't it great to go through what I've been through, mate, and have that near, be on the cusp of near death. You can't come as close as you did to be, it's great to, and that's the one that I live by, mate, is, never judge a book by its cover and never judge what chapter you walk into someone's life. I think
I completely agree with that, but I reckon that anyone who thinks that way has never been there.
No.
You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I found perspective wise, if someone's going to say something that's that far removed from reality, you kind of you have no idea how blessed you are that you've never touched that zone. You know what I mean? Now you can sort of sit back and do it. And I remember another brilliant piece, which I'd encourage everyone who has a set of ears to listen to, is David Foster Wallace does a talk called "This Is Water." You get it on YouTube. It's 22 minutes long or something like that, and it's funny because he explains some really great things about perspective. And a great one about a lady who cuts you off in a big gas guzzling SUV after what she's done, cutting you off in the shopping lane. And the thing that you don't realize is that she was involved in a horrible motor vehicle accident when she was a kid and has been all but ordered by a therapist to drive something that makes her feel safe. She's on the way to the hospital to see her father right before he passes away. So technically it's you that's in her road, and you're upset that you got cut off by someone in a car that makes no sense. You know what I mean? He does that, and he does it for 20 minutes. The dude's just, it's the best. I listened to it, I think before I was at the stage of recovery that I am now. I used to listen to it sort of once a week.
Yep.
It's brilliant. well worth it.
Puts things into perspective, eh? Like really, when you think of it, like and it's, mate. I know some people say it's the simplest things that can set you. Like for me, it's meditation. So, like for me, that's my go-to now is meditation. So I do a meditation before I go to bed and when I get up first thing in the morning, and that's my thing, mate. Like it's just that's what's really helped me with my mental health. And
Yeah.
it's just getting back to myself and actually finding myself. And like, I'm like you, I listen to things that are like inspirational things that, just keep you just going. Yeah. And that's essentially one of the reasons I started the podcast, mate, was to speak to veterans like yourself and first responders and that, and mate, knowledge is power. Like if we can all draw off, individually of every single person's, like you said, sometimes, yeah, you can read it in a book, but life experience is, mate, it's undervalued so much.
Yeah.
It is so much undervalued of what the lessons learned and the hard lessons. Like there's hard lessons learned, like on your journey, mate. There's so many hard lessons learned.
That's the thing, but they're the good ones.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. That's it. I actually this there was today that I had this combo about it. I was talking about a issue I've been having with a prosthetic, and we were talking about things that people would take back or change. And he's gone, I bet you definitely want to go back and be the guy you were 15 years ago. And I said, dude, there's no way in hell I want to go anywhere near that guy. He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, what? Because he could run? Like the amount of things that I know now, like the amount of ways I know how to deal with problems, the amount of things I know about myself. I've had to, and you'd know it as well. Once you've hit that rock bottom,
Yeah.
you have to start digging and looking into who really am I? What makes me tick? Why does it make me tick? And there's some ugly truths there. There are some really ugly, hard things to look at and go, okay, so that's me. So this is what I've got to work on. You got to objectively go. So I now know I have to manage. For me, I have to manage being able to concentrate.
Yep.
Like I still, if anyone sends me an email, you can like be 99% sure I'm not going to read the last paragraph. Be so sure of that. Like the amount of times I've been jagged on that, and it still happens. But it's one of my like things of just going, okay, be more disciplined. So I try.
Yeah.
But whatever. It's
Oh,
but one of those things. I think you got to reach into different spots, and that's what I loved about acting. I literally did acting to remind myself that I wasn't a sociopath.
yeah. Well, I was going to ask you that actually. That was going to be my next and I know, I'm looking at the time going, yeah, I've got to let you get to sleep at some point. Like but it's like you're right. I think people can't, and people will judge you regardless. We've spoken about that, like, and that's the thing. Like, I look at that too and go, when you've walked a mile in my shoes or your shoes or anyone who's been through and had to overcome adversity, and their life is seemingly, they haven't had hardships. They've been pretty lucky. Like, and that's the word I don't like using, but
Yeah, yeah.
they've had it.
Fortunate.
Yeah,
We'll say
fortunate.
fortunate.
Yeah, fortunate. They've been fortunate. Don't judge what I've gone through, and don't, every person's got their own battles, and we're all fighting something, and I
Yeah.
think
And
I think
that
it's
can be why someone reacts a particular way on a bad
correct.
day.
Yeah,
You know?
correct. Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just if we take the time to just maybe accept what they're, and not be so judgmental, I think the world would be a better place, mate, if we if we could all take that on. Like I think it'd be
And
like
that's the hardest one about that, I think, when you're dealing with people is once you've accepted that and you've swallowed it and you really digested it and worked out what's happening with it, there's a lot of people that haven't.
yeah,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I love the whole living by the mantra of going, I expect a high standard of everyone else, but that standard sits just below the standard I think they should expect of me,
Yep. Yep.
with the
Yeah.
exception of reading the last part of emails.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's one of those, but then, that becomes unrealistic when you're thinking that everyone should be perfectly balanced when it comes to not being judgmental. So it's kind of then going, all right, I got to give someone the leeway that they're going to discover that later on, and then they'll look back and think, oh, that person was nice for at least, you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's much more important, I think, than kicking a goal at soccer, is having a moment where they just go, that was really cool what that person did, without you ever having to know about it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Again, it's that
Yeah.
moment in the dark.
Yep. Yeah, I do.
Moment in the
Yeah.
dark, you just not needing the trophy for it, not needing anything, just the satisfaction of the fact that you did what you could the right way,
Yep.
did everything that you could in the proper way that you should, and then you've left an impression, and hopefully we'll have that person go, that one time that dude did that, that was cool.
That's the lasting legacy. That's the legacy of, if they have nothing else with them, that's the lasting legacy that they've got of you, and that's, mate, that's all you can ask. Like, and so you mentioned your acting. How did this, like, obviously you said, so you didn't go insane, and, but how did this, and you managed to get a role in Hacksaw Ridge, and
Yeah.
what was that like, mate?
Well, so I started acting because it's like, I don't have, if I started to go through the stage where I was like, all right, if I didn't listen to any of the naysayers in my life, like, if I wasn't paying attention to everyone who was consistently saying what I couldn't do, um, what would I do? You know what I mean? Like, and I always liked the idea of acting. I love performing. I like the pressure. I like the fact, I mean, it's hard. It's wildly hard. I've still got tapes of when I was like a first year, and Jesus Christ, when I'm watching it, I'm so bad. But I wanted to, and it was just another muscle I wanted to stretch. Like, I wanted to make sure I could get in touch with emotions again, feel things, and just sort of sit in there. And I think I kind of needed the time at that stage, because so much of what I did when it came to the defense side of things and newspaper interviews and stuff that was that wasn't me. You know what I mean? That wasn't exactly who I wanted to be at that stage. That wasn't the person who was screaming out for help. That wasn't the person who was screaming for joy. That was just the guy towing the line saying the thing. So I kind of went and got to detach and be someone else, and be whoever I decided I wanted to be on that day. You know what I mean? And start to
Yeah,
stretch
yeah,
different muscles and let things upset me. I mean, you don't cry, or what I mean. There's all these different like stigmas around what you should and shouldn't do and who should do this. And God, I've cried at least 3 times through Good Will Hunting these days. I love
it's a
that.
great
Robert
movie. Great movie.
feels in it. Like, but
Great
that's the
movie.
thing, like then, or like, and there's heaps of different ones. Or that scene at the end of like the Fast and the Furious where Paul Walker dies during it, and then it says for Paul.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yep.
God, I was in the cinema, and I literally like had one of those blubble things
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Totally uncontrollable. And it was, yeah, but like, to get back in touch with that was the main sort of goal. You know what I mean? Like, plus I always think that shit's gonna work out. I honestly just believe it. I mean, if it doesn't, what, you're wrong about something that if you didn't try, you would have been wrong about anyway. So fuck, why not? And then I was doing a class, and this really cool teacher did this Team America thing when we were in Afghanistan once. And I remembered it, and I thought it was just the funniest thing. So my activity that day in class was his Team America thing. And at that stage, he'd already tried to commit suicide twice. And just halfway through it, I cracked. And I was trying so hard not to crack that it made it look, it obviously looked really, really good. Because the teacher after the class is sort of going, that was for one of your guys, wasn't it? I said, yeah, man, sorry, I almost just broke during it. And he's going, mate, people spend 99.9% of the time trying to hide their emotions. Like in this class, people spend 99% of the time trying to show you their emotions. You did it right then. And I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, look, so Nikki Barrett's casting something that I think you should try and get along to. And I'm like, Nikki Barrett, the one who cast Gatsby, what do you just want me to yell, give her a call now? Or like, you know what I mean? Like I was a bit of a smart ass about it because oh fuck, am I getting in touch with Nikki? And he just because you got a manager, right? And I said, yeah, he does the speaking and whatever. And then next thing you know, I got an audition and it was pretty simple. Like what I had to do, like, oh, and they just bury their dead like normal people. I can't even do the accent anymore, like especially off the top of my head. But
Yeah.
I was looking at it, a scene that actually got cut from it, and I remember doing that bit and one or two of the other sequences they had for it. And, didn't even twig that it was in an American accent, that it would be an American movie. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I get this call down at Coogee. I'm walking along the beach, like along the Esplanade. I'm there with my missus at the time. She was a lot younger than me. And the phone call comes in and like Wolf's just going, oh, hey, man, how you going? I'm like, oh, pretty good. He goes, oh, you got the part. I said, oh, sweet. He goes, you don't sound too excited. I'm like, yeah, no, it's a war movie. I'm a war veteran. Of course I'm going to get the part. Literally said that. That was my response. And he's going, you don't get it, man. Mel Gibson's directing. Get out. Are you serious? Oh my God, that's the best thing. So I start
Yeah.
like happy dancing. And happy dancing for an amputee is very, very top heavy. And I was like, I then said to the girl, she goes, oh, so you got the part. I said, yeah, but you don't get it. Mel Gibson's directing. And she goes, who's she?
Oh,
Yeah, man.
what?
If you've ever seen anyone just raise a red flag in front of you, that's got
Yeah.
to be it.
Yeah.
That's literally got to be it.
100%.
And yeah, but I ignored that, and that's a story that we're not going to go into. But yeah, and then we went in, and the role, the coolest bit about that movie, one was like you get to watch Vince Vaughn, Sam Worthington, like just great actors be great in real time, and like you see cuts of it when you watch a movie, but when you're in a room and they're doing it a different way perfectly on repeat.
Yeah,
Like
right.
6 or 8 times on the trot, you're just getting to watch absolute brilliance. Like it's like a masterclass that you're fortunate enough to be there for. Like it is, and that's the reason why I still will do acting jobs now. I mean, it's just to be able to hang out and do stuff and watch people just be absolutely amazing live and real time, and then see how it comes out is just next level. Like it's one of those. It's wild. Except I was thinking as well when this came out the other night when I was talking to Dicko, because they were trying to like do what they could to support my head and stuff like that during the thing. When I was screaming when we were doing the bit, obviously that I got blown up. That was a funny one. I get called into the office right before we started production. There's 2 producers in there, right? Like I go in, Bill Mechanic and Dave Permit are in there. Mel's in. Hey guys, how you going? And I was like, they kind of like cut me already and just decided. Yeah, oh, for God's sake, we haven't even started yet. I get in there and they go, and Mel goes, so we got this thought, right? And I'm like, you want to blow my legs off, don't you? It's like, yeah, we do. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. That'd be cool. Oh, cool. That's the guy who's going to do this and blah, 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 blah. Like, we went through the process of it. It was a pretty fun sort of meet.
Yeah.
Me inside, I'm just hanging out talking to Mel Gibson. I'm just pumped. And he was very generous with his time. Like, he would always include me in shit. Everyone knew the hierarchy.
Yeah.
Of who sits down where at lunch. I would just rock up to a table that him and Vince Vaughn are sitting at and just start eating with him. Hey, boys, what's doing? Like kind of give him that. And we talked about whatever was happening, this war sequence or whatever was working. It was a really, really cool experience. But The coolest bit for me personally was our medic who worked on me in Afghanistan
Yep.
is like a war history buff. And he he's literally had a room in his house that used to have mannequins that were dressed up like soldiers and shit.
Yeah,
Like
right.
that much of a buff of it, right? We get a call 2 weeks out from the start, and my manager calls me up and goes, "Mate, do you know anyone who's writing the like medical type stuff?" I said, "Why?" And they go, "We need a direct liaison for Andrew Garfield to train him on set and work through the bits that he's got to do with all the different medical devices, how they'll get carried, all that sort of stuff." I said, "Man, I have the guy. I got him." And instantly I thought of Chris. I'm like, sick. This is going to be the best call. So I've like called him once since he's practically done a majority of the stuff to save me. I'm like, "Hey man, how you going?" "Oh, pretty good, I am this, that, and blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Are you like really busy in the next while?" He goes, "Why is that?" I said, "Oh, I heard you do some contracting or whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, we'll see. Why is that?" I said, "Oh, Mel Gibson's making a movie in Australia with like Andrew Garfield, the dude who played Spider-Man, like social network guy. He's the lead character in the Desmond Doss story." He goes, "Desmond Doss, the medic from World War II, the blah 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 blah." I said, "Yeah, yeah. Do you want to be like the chief sort of liaison and consultant to tell him how to do the medical thing?" And he's just like, "Come on, man, you're fucking kidding me, aren't you?" And I'm like, "This would be the most elaborate prank in the history of pranks if it's one. I haven't spoken to you in like 2 years, and I just out of the blue ring you with such an elaborate thing. Like, come on, man, really?" And he's just like, "Serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, do it." Like, so yeah, he came along. The only day he wasn't there for was when we shot I had one of his other consultants come for the day that I got hit.
Yep.
When I actually started crying during it on one of them. And I mean, like, you're in it. Like, my job is there was Oscar buzz around Andrew Garfield. So all I've got to do is make it look real.
Yep.
That's my thing. And then, yeah, I remember crying once. I remember like him rubbing my chest and just going, "Bro, okay, 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 okay." Just like, "Oh, yep, yes, yeah, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good." And like, I was actually like actual tear crying, and it was, yeah, just, but I have a feeling I remember getting told that at one stage my head was getting held by the boys while they were trying to talk to me, keep me close while they turned the head masks off.
Yep.
And I don't know whether I shut my eyes or whether something happened or whether it triggered something. Like, it didn't feel like it did. And I felt all right after that. Like, I mean, it was a good afternoon. Like, Mel ran out after the second take and just like proper running, a set of fucking thongs, full running, and then just like, "Yes, yes." And as he got closer to me, I'm like, he is not slowing down. Like, and then he just comes out, slaps me 5. And I was just like, "All right, we're in, cool." And he goes, "You got it in you again?" Like, a couple more, yeah. And he goes, "I think we've got it, but I want to see it." And I was like, "Cool." And then my missus at the time, the same one who said, "Who's she?"
Yeah.
and goes, "That was amazing." And she never used to compliment me about anything. Like, literally, we could live on an earth without fire. I could make fire and she still wouldn't give a compliment. And she just goes, "That was unbelievable." I said, "What?" And she goes, she was sitting in Video City
Yep.
with them, and she was watching it, just like seeing what was happening, and she turned and looked, and there were like 8 people all crying, all
Yeah.
literally in it. And that's, yeah, like, I mean, it's a long day to do all of that, but like feedback like that over like an acting performance
Oh,
makes
mate.
all the difference. It was a bit, yeah, it was a bit of fun, kind of cathartic. And there's been other things that have popped up at different stages, like little, you need, if there's an amputee or something. Like, we just did one called In Limbo, which is on ABC at the moment, which is great. with Ryan Cole, and I really like Ryan. He's a legend. He was in The Water Diviner,
Yeah, he's a good, good guy.
and he's just a great actor. Like to watch some of the stuff that he did in that and watch it real time it's just a treat, man. It's
Oh,
so
mate, he's actually I've watched him right through from when he was in Blue Water High back in the day, mate. I don't know if
yeah,
you ever
right.
watched. Yeah, I don't know if you ever watched Blue Water High, like
I've
Blue.
seen the pictures, but I've seen him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So Blue, I've watched him right through to Underbelly to and I rate him highly as he's a very very good actor. Like he's
I can remember like when we were on Hacksaw, they had all the guys who were our like troop, like all the sort of ensemble cast, like Frastrani, Ben Mingay, Luke Pegler, Mike Sheesby, Goran Clute. God, I don't want to forget anyone, but I'm gonna. Jacob. Oh, he was hilarious. He played Penny. I'm sorry for not remembering your
nah.
last name, Jacob. But yeah, like it was, and they had this crew of us. And then I remember Ben O'Toole, who's also amazing in everything he does, just getting really excited about. He goes, "Man, Ryan's gonna be here," and I'm like, "Cool, dude. I've been doing this too." I'm like, who's Ryan? And he like Ryan Core, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it's gonna be great." No idea who he was.
Yeah,
Like
right.
I didn't quite, I wasn't quite across that. And then yeah, he rocked up, did the sequences that he did in that. I remember like when we did limo, I was like it was just cool to kind of go, "Oh, hey man, how you doing?" We did the thing on that and stuff and hung out in that like trailer and whatever. The weird thing is, right, I did a small sequence in a movie that's premiering tomorrow night at the Sydney Film Festival at the Ritz in
Yeah,
Round,
okay.
and it's called Carmen. So Andrew Garfield got nominated for an Academy Award for his portrayal in Hacksaw Ridge,
Yep.
and he didn't get it. Paul Mescal is the lead in Carmen. He shakes my hand through part of one of the sequences that we do, where I'm obviously his war injured buddy,
Yep.
and he didn't win the Academy Award either, but he was nominated. So I'm not saying it's me that's ruining it for him, but I'm not saying it's not. You know what I mean? Like,
I get, I love that dark sense of humor you've got, mate. I love it. It's just you can,
dude,
maybe it is, maybe it's not. Who knows? But
maybe it's not. Yeah, it
yeah,
could. But there is a pattern that is beginning to emerge. Like,
So-
once it's coincidence, twice you start to go, "Oh, really?"
yeah, three times. Yeah,
Yeah,
who know? Yeah. So, but mate, we've been speaking for over 3 hours now. It's
that was
been
yeah.
bloody awesome. But mate, just before I let you go, there's a couple of things and a couple of quotes that I want to finish on. In 2019, you announced that obviously you mentioned throughout you're starting to do golfing a lot more, and so are you doing that full time now? Is that what you're really focusing on?
That's the focus until other things go. There's every now and then you get something that you can't. It's too good of an opportunity to say no to. I had a friend of mine named Richard Weissel. He's a photographer, really great investor, and he wanted to do a project called Service, where we're taking sort of 15-minute interviews, but no one's gone less than 45 about the impact of service on Australians. And he gave me a yell and just goes, "Look, we've been friends for sort of 7 years." And he goes, "Look, do you want to come on as a producer?" And I'm like, "It's a pretty loose term. Let's see what are we doing here?" And when I got down there on day one and we spoke about what he wanted to do with the project, I knew that if I got it right, we could really get a group of people that aren't the typical people that are in the limelight and hear some very, very unique stories about how service impacts people in the Australian Army, not just people who've been broken, but we've got a couple of SAS operators that have served for like 20 years that talk about their family seeing the changes in them and, just a pile of different things. But the photography is sort of the main bit, which is it's looking at getting acquired by the War Memorial, which is, yeah, really, really cool. But I mean, the focus for me is like time permitting golf. Like I love that. But I mean, I gotta say, I love my kids more. I I get reminded of this by I don't really need to be reminded of it, but my dad, he worked hard, he worked his ass off. He got up in the morning, he got up when it was dark, caught a train down to Sydney, and he'd come back and he'd maybe get half an hour with us when we got home before we went to sleep, and then we'd get the weekends depending on what was happening. I mean, I'm in a position where I can see those years with my kids. I also do have in the back of my mind that if my brain got rattled around pretty bad, my body's been through a lot. Um, I want as much time with them while I can remember what's happening as humanly possible. So, like I got down to 50th in the world. It's the best ranking I've had in the world ranking in disabled golf. I know I can go better. I definitely can. But for me, the main thing is watching two little gems grow up. That's it's yeah. The family has been the change that I'm in a better place now than I think I ever have been in
Fatherhood's changed you, mate.
in my entire life. Nothing even close. And like I love golf, trust me. I still grind at it.
Yeah.
Every day I'm doing something to do with making golf better. But yeah, the priority is definitely making sure that those little kids have the best chance they can have. So
No, I think, mate, I've got a little niece. My brother, he's got a 2-year-old, and mate, he even said it to me. He goes, "Mate, you don't understand. Once they're born, your life changes, mate." He's like, your life, every little worry that you ever had just goes out the window, and it's all about them. You just,
yeah,
and I haven't got that yet. Like it's my like I love my niece to death. Like don't. It's just a different. I'm not a father, so I
don't
don't.
rush.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone says that. Hey, everyone's like, yeah, mate. Don't be in a hurry to do it. I'm like, yeah,
No, but
yeah,
like, see, I think I don't know. I've got a really good mate who he calls me God's favorite. Every time we play golf, I get every good bounce there is, and he goes, "What else would you expect from God's favorite?" Like we kind of do that. But I mean, I somehow like me and my missus had both had the chance to get everything done that we have to do. There's no spot where we go. She said, "Wish I had traveled more." I mean, I've got to live. I got to live the equivalent of like 6 lives, and I've just crested like I'm 42. You know what I mean? I've got the amount of things still blows my mind that that I've got to do those things, but I got to do all of them before being able to like concentrate all of my energy on making sure these little kids are going well. And to be honest, the missus still does a majority of it. She kills, man. Like she was a childcare teacher for 14 years, and I honestly don't know how parents do it that
yeah.
haven't got someone who's been in childcare or something like that. She knows like what app you're supposed to look at for milestones, for this, for that, for all these different things. Like I'm literally, if it was just me, I would uh I just look around scared. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like I've
Yeah.
got it's so it's really interesting, but they're sort of, they're they're the best. They're good fun. Like kids when they're little, there's just like and like you get to see different bits. And it's interesting. I found that like my self-reflection on me has increased since sort of having them. You kind of remember, like, time changes the older you get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you notice that when it was
Yeah.
they lasted for a different period of time, like then when you're 40, and then I'll just be playing out the back with them and I'll smell something. And then I'll kind of go back in my mind to a place where I was young and we were playing and something, I'll remember something. And like, I honestly think it's healthy for your brain
Yeah.
to float through those bits. And the kids were they were the key to open that lock. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think through my journey, I've had a lot of times where for the first how many years I disassociated with the guy that I was before I got injured. Then when I moved back to the Central Coast, which is where we grew up and most of the family house taking me close to the kids in 2020, I was reminded of that guy, and part of it was shocking. Parts of it I didn't want to face, parts of it I didn't want to know about. And I realized how far I detached from him, and then it was a healthy thing to go through, reminding yourself that it's all the same person, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. It does. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Not in a psychiatrist needs to talk to me way, but like it's like, yeah, I think I find that with the kids, you start looking at really, really simple things,
Yeah.
like which David Foster Wallace would finish it by saying, "See, sir, this is water." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never notice the water because you're too busy swimming in it. And then when you have a kid and you're sort of going, "This is the first time they've ever seen that," all of a sudden you remember this is water. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's pretty powerful, isn't it? Like it's just having that, like as I said to you earlier, like the everyone's so focused on the destination but not enjoying the journey. And that's the journey of, being a parent and, going through those processes and,
Being a
like,
dad, just doing
yeah,
those.
yeah, that's it. And I like it's so special. And there's a couple of things that I want to finish with, mate. A couple of questions just before I let you go. And
By the way.
there's with all your accomplishments, what, like, that you've done post, that fateful night in Afghanistan, what do you hope that other amputees or people who've had loss in some way, what do you hope that they can take away from your story?
Do it your way. Like, do it your way, because that way you're accountable to it. And secondly, I like getting things right, but at the end of the day, it's not about being perfect. It's about being proud of who you are when things aren't perfect. Because everyone's good when the ball's bouncing their way. When it's not, you realize who you are. Give yourself the freedom to make mistakes because you're going to. If you're not, you're not human. And if you're not making mistakes, you definitely don't need to hear this. But yeah, it's not about being perfect. It's about being proud of who you are when things aren't.
I love that. That's powerful, man. That is very, very powerful. And I think both you and I can resonate on that a lot in what we both had to go through. So yeah, and anyone out there listening, yeah, just bloody great advice. Absolutely. So this one, mate, is, so if you could go back to when you were 18, what advice would you give yourself? And would he listen to that advice? And was, with everything you've gone through, still joining the Commandos still the best thing that you ever have done in to this point?
Um, the command, yes. After taking the path that I've taken, yes, it definitely is. Like, it's not a shade of doubt in that. Um, and this is it's a philosophical one that I've wrestled with like recently. If I let my brain get to its full potential, the advice I'd give the 18-year-old is break up with her. There are lots of them.
Yep.
Break up with her and don't pay attention to that. Do this. You're gonna be fine, champ. Um, but I don't think he would listen. And yeah, I think the advice would be, break up with her and then lock it in for 2 years and see how you go.
Yeah.
There's that. I mean, I wouldn't change anything that's happening in my life with where it is right now. You know, what I'd be interested in is if there was a parallel universe and I could see what he would look like. And the thing is, when I go through that train of thought, I don't know, no matter how good his life is, whether I would trade it.
Hmm.
You know, even if things went perfectly, everything went well through it, everything was at a position of that. I know that I could sit there across the table from him and go, all right, cool, let's exchange stories. You know what I mean?
It'd be pretty cool reality to see,
It would.
it'd be pretty
It
cool.
would.
That would be,
Imagine his
yeah.
attitude as well.
Oh, mate, he'd have some attitude, I reckon.
Arrogant, entitled. Imagine that. Just me arguing with myself. That'd be phenomenal.
Oh, mate, I could just see it where the guy was. I'm just thinking back to that recruit, that office mate. Oh, you're not ready. See you, mate. What are you talking about? I'm not
What are
ready.
you talking about? What do you think I'm not ready? Immature. What are you
yeah,
talking about? Immature. Like,
yeah.
imagine it. Like,
Oh,
the conversation between, but I think that the interesting one would be like this age versus this age.
yeah.
Of
Oh,
going,
yeah.
and then sitting down and like, I don't know, I can't think about what it'd be like to not have the stories. I mean, at the end of the day, I think the people who, like, for me, I think that's the crux of it. Like, I wouldn't change it, you know? I mean, the
Yeah.
people who I think matter respect me and the
Yeah.
challenges that I've been through and the reasons that I did it. I don't have any regrets for the fact that I joined, and I definitely don't, I don't regret and being injured in Afghanistan. That was part and parcel of something that I signed up to do. The only one that's accountable for that is me, and I'm really comfortable with it. That was something I'm extremely proud of doing. Yeah, I don't. At the end of the day, life's a cool bunch of stories, isn't it?
It is, mate. And something you said to me that was so powerful. It was you put up on your 15-year anniversary, and you said, yeah, some fucker he did his best to fucking kill me, and I'm still here. I'm
Yeah,
still fighting. I'm still here. And
yeah, yeah,
that hit me, mate. I was just like, that is such a great way to look at it, mate. Like, you were on the cusp of death, and I mean that within an inch of your life, and you just go that where, yeah, some fucker, yeah, good luck to you, mate. You
yeah.
tried your best,
That
and
was
I'm
that
still,
poor dude's best as well.
yeah,
Imagine that. It's like that
yeah,
was everything we had.
yeah, that's
Everything we
right.
had. Look at him.
And you still,
Ah,
and you haven't stopped, mate. And that, if anyone takes anything away from that, it's like, yeah, just no matter how hard and I take that away too, mate. No matter how bad the odds get, you can always you can always fight. There's always you've got to, and it comes from within, and you've done that, mate.
yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. Ignoring those odds is the best way of dealing with it, I think. I can remember that when I was really young. I was talking to my old man about wanting to play cricket for Australia, and I don't know whether he was managing my expectations or just being pessimistic, but he was like, only 300 people or whatever, 200 and something have represented Australia, and you got to look at the chances. There's 150,000 kids your age that all want to play cricket for Australia. I have a saying that I sort of use when I think people are looking at the wrong thing. I'm like, you're looking at the wrong number. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, to me, anything that tries to stack the odds against you is the wrong number. It'll affect your it'll affect the way that you approach problems. It'll affect your enthusiasm to train. If you look at the realities of the chances, but again, look at if someone was to come to you and say, all right, Adam, you're gonna get blown up next year, something's gonna happen, you're gonna lose both limbs. 3 years later, you're going to be in a Hollywood movie that gets nominated for 6 Academy Awards. You're going to play a reasonably key role in that film. And then you're going to continue on from there. Like, well, you'd sort of, your brain would be putting it together in a different way, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
You know what I'm
100%.
saying? Like,
Yeah,
I think that's the thing. It's all a matter of the way that you frame it, and framing things and the way that you look at something is a choice. It is a choice that you have, that you make, that you consciously make. And it's hard to make. Like, I make no mistake, it is hard to look at things in a positive light when shit's not going well.
yeah,
It is. It's
yeah,
just,
100%.
it's a skill. It's a hard skill, but it's something that if you never do it, you're never going to get better at it, are you? You know what
No,
I mean?
it's
Like,
yeah,
so
100%, mate. I know what you're saying because I've been through it too. I know exactly what you're saying. Is when you got to do the inner work when you don't want to on the days you don't want to. That's the true. That's getting and it's getting in the
days you
trenches,
don't
mate.
want to. The
Yeah,
days you don't want to, the days when no one's watching, the days where you think you'll get absolutely nothing out of it, they're the ones that add up.
it's ups, mate. The days where you just even getting up to make a coffee, is that the days where you don't want you're in your safe haven of your bed and you drag yourself to just have a coffee. It's those 2 millimeter steps to turn the jug on. Those are the days, mate, where you go, that's the growth. And
Just that bit.
that's
Just
that's
that bit. And
that's it.
that's hard.
That's it.
That's the hard bit.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if you can do it and you do it repeatedly, day after day, it then gets easier. The steps then, it starts to happen for you. And that's, mate, I know exactly because I've been through it myself. And I think now I've accepted too that my worst day or the day that I allow myself to have that bad day, I've accepted that now. I go, all right, I've woken up today. It's not my day. I have that. Yeah, I have that day, and then I go, all right, tomorrow I'm getting up, and it's not gonna. I'm not sitting in this shit anymore. I'm not gonna sit in my shit anymore.
Yeah.
I'm getting back, and
Got
that's
something. I've got a list. I've got something to do. I've got a thing I'm going to achieve. I've got something I'm going to do.
That's
There's
right.
something that's going to change about it.
Yeah, that's right, and that's
Diet,
mate.
a multivitamin, a fucking fish oil tablet. It doesn't matter. I'm going to drink 6 glasses of water before 12 o'clock. It can be the most minor thing.
Yep.
The most minor thing.
That's it. But just keep moving forward. Mate, it leads me into my last question too, is what's the plans going forward with your beautiful wife and your kids, mate?
Well, we're really looking forward to a Powerball win. I think that'll probably be a good one. I've considered about 6 different ways that I'll donate the money, which I probably won't. I'll just buy myself a yacht. To be honest, for me, it's like as a macro, it's just be as good of a dad consistently as I can. And that means keeping myself and my wife and the family in as healthy a position as we can possibly be. That's the goal. Like my goal now, I mean, like I said, when I had kids, I've done enough. I would like to be like, if I didn't have kids, I'd want to be the world #1 disabled golfer on the planet. I know I've got the ability to do it. And if I was that, and the thing is, there's different choices you can make when it comes to opportunities. And I'm not going to get the opportunity to shape or help little munchkins live their lives the cute way that they go about it again. So, and I mean that, to me, that dwarfs any personal thing. I mean, there's no trophy I could hold up. There's no, I think the opportunity cost is too much to not spend that time. Give me 3 or 4 years when they start going to school, then I think that's when the race to #1 will really heat up. Like, obviously, I want to be #1, but top 10. I've hit number 50. Anywhere around there. I think I've just had to come to peace with the fact that with a 2-year-old and a soon to be 5, when they're 5 and 7, there'll be a lot more time to go out and do things. But on the same hand, I think I've got to manage my expectations physically.
Yep.
The last thing I want to do is have a meltdown because my golf game isn't working because my body doesn't hold up, which is is a possibility. It's been through a fair bit, and yeah, so I try to do what I can to look after it now, but I do very much enjoy like McDonald's. Not an advertising shout out at all. I like junk food, so
Yeah.
I've got to concentrate on what I eat and stuff like that. But I did my in chocolate. I'm
Mate,
terrible.
there's look, mate, everyone's got a guilty pleasure, and that's, like, mate, you were mate, you well basically an elite athlete for the years that you were in special forces, and you were fit, like, mate, you can enjoy, mate, I think you've earned the right to enjoy some little treats, mate. I think you can do
Yeah,
that.
I still feel guilty when I'm doing it, but there's a little bit of the actor that goes, "Oh my God, you've got to stay in shape," and there's this, and blah blah blah, and it's hard to walk if you're too heavy, and uh, but yeah, I think that's it. I mean, but let's face it, like things change as the information that you have changes. I
Yep.
mean, I still in the back of my mind, I the golf is definitely the goal, and it's one that can always be there. I mean, my parents are both getting older. I want to win a tournament like either the New South Wales, like one of the state amputee opens or the Australian amputee open. Just when they get the chance to see it.
Yep.
That's a really important one to me.
Yep.
Side note, but if you give me the option of one of my children having a chance to do something else, I've had enough good things. It's
Yeah.
them. So yeah.
No, that's awesome, and I think, mate, when I can catch up with you, definitely have a hit with you. That I love golf too, so yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely you'll kick my ass. So
Hey, with an attitude like that, I'm guaranteed to. Most people swing harder as it is, mate. Like they like, oh my God, I can't be out hit by the double amputee. So
nah, mate, look, I just love to hit with you, mate. I don't, I'm taking the piss. I don't care if you beat me, mate. Golf to me now is just about enjoying being out there, mate. Like you said, being out in the fresh air and just great for the mental health. And that's, for me,
to be honest, I love winning. Like golf to me was like I've only started wearing shorts in public in the last 3 years. A big part of that was I started wearing them to golf so that people who I was playing would know they were getting beaten by an amputee.
I love it. I love
That's
that.
literally it. It was my mental tools. Like it's just that little bit in there, just going, okay, cool, we know. Just hit a drive. Is that you back there, little fella? You're not a handicap guy. It's got no legs. Come on.
Oh,
Next thing,
mate.
they're swinging harder. Balls are flaring everywhere. And then
Yeah.
the best thing about it is if they beat you, you then go, you're applauding yourself for beating someone who is seriously disabled.
Yeah,
Like
I love it. I
it's a
love it.
no-win. It's a no-win for
I love it.
him.
I love it, mate. Well, mate, I'm going to finish with a quote, mate, that I think sums your story up, mate. It's been an absolute honor and a privilege to have you on True Blue Conversations and share your story, mate. It's Damien, your incredible journey of triumph over adversity, positive attitude, and ambition for the future stands as proof that no challenge is too great and that the Anzac spirit is truly alive and well. And the quote is, mate, it's one that I really believe sums you up. It's a story of embracing challenge and embracing change and just approaching life with the positivity that you've got. And it's a single feat of daring can alter the whole concept of what is possible. Mate, you have proven that there is so much possible with what you've been able to achieve. And I just want to thank you, Damien Thomlinson, for your service to our country. Thank you for what you've done, mate. Thank you for what you do for veterans, first responders, and people who are struggling with mental health. And, mate, I just want to thank you again for coming on True Blue Conversations. It's been an absolute honor and privilege.
Right on. Legend, man.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, bud.
Cheers.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of True Blue Conversations with your host, Adam Bloom. See you on the front line.